Tonight, we're diving deep into the darkest secrets. Every region is hiding from you. The unsolved mysteries. I know this is a fascinating topic, but don't worry, I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment day 1. Now let's get back to the video. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the world of Pokémon as you first knew it. Think of the bright colours of Pallet Town, the cheerful chime of a Pokémon Center, and the spirit of adventure that fueled your journey to become a master. For nearly 30 years, this universe has been a sanctuary of friendship and discovery. But if you linger too long in the silence of the tall grass or walk the deserted hallways of an old mansion after the sun has set, the atmosphere begins to shift. You start to realize that the vibrant surface of this world is merely a thin veil stretched over a much darker, much older foundation. Behind every legendary encounter and beneath every bustling city lies a history written in the ink of tragedy, disappearance, and unanswered questions that have haunted the community since 1996. We are told that this is a world of harmony between humans and pocket monsters, yet the landscape is littered with the scars of ancient catastrophes and the echoes of those who simply vanished. Why does a veteran like Lieutenant Surge speak of a war that supposedly never happened? Why does a young girl in the Kalos region glide through a skyscraper, searching for a person who does not exist? And what truly happened to the civilizations that built the massive ruins we find crumbling in every corner of the globe? These are not just glitches or flavor text, they are the breadcrumbs of a narrative much more unsettling than any gym challenge. Tonight, we are stepping away from the glory of the battlefield and the warmth of the spotlight. We are descending into the shadows of the Kanto power plants, the frozen peaks of Sinnoh, and the irradiated craters of Paldea. We are going to examine the biological nightmares of evolution, the spectral entities that refuse to cross over, and the military secrets that the Pokémon League would rather you forget. From the abandoned experiments that birthed Mewtwo to the cosmic horrors that wait in the space between dimensions, we will peel back the layers of this world region by region. The stakes are higher than a simple game. This is about the lost history of a world we thought we knew. It is about the families torn apart by the Great Kalos War 3,000 years ago, and the trainers like Tobias who appear out of nowhere with the power of gods, only to vanish into the mists of time. It is about the items like the GS ball that were meant to change everything, only to be tucked away in a drawer and forgotten by history itself. As we journey through these mysteries, you may find that the comfort of your childhood memories begins to transform into something more profound and perhaps a little more chilling. We will explore the biological impossibility of the Cubone line and the existential dread of what actually happens when a creature is converted into light and stored inside a plastic sphere. We will look at the maps and realize that the geography of our favorite regions is often defined by craters and mass graves. This is a journey for the curious, the brave, and those who find peace in the unraveling of a deep, dark secret. So, settle in and let the ambient sounds of the regions wash over you. The world is much larger and much older than the Pokédex leads you to believe. Whether these mysteries are the result of ancient curses or modern conspiracies, one thing is certain: the truth is waiting in the dark. Let us begin our descent into the unsolved history of the Pokémon world, starting where it all began, in the quiet, or war-torn fields of Kanto. In the bustling streets of Kanto from those original 1996 games, you wander through Pallet Town, Viridian City, every quiet corner and crowded route, and one glaring void hits you right away. Where are all the adult men? Fathers absent from homes, no grizzled workers in the power plants, no mature trainers barking orders beyond a handful of gym leaders. Young boys like you set out on journeys, Mothers wave goodbye from doorsteps. Sisters and daughters fill the nurse roles, but grown men. They're ghosts in their own region, vanished into thin air or worse. This isn't some glitch in the code or lazy design choice. It seeps into the world like a shadow you can't shake. Think of Brock's family, all brothers under his watch, no dad in sight. Misty's sisters lounge by the pool, carefree, all while their father, nowhere. Even Professor Oak's lab hums with aides who skew young or female. His own son, Blue, charging ahead without a paternal anchor. The few men who appear, like the fishermen or bikers, feel like echoes, out of place, in a land stripped bare. It's as if a cataclysm swept through, claiming the prime of Kanto's male population, leaving behind a generation too young to remember, too innocent to question. And then you reach Vermilion City, the salty sea air whipping through the port, ships creaking against the docks. Lieutenant Surge's gym looms there, a fortress of flickering lights and humming generators, his electric Pokémon crackling with raw power. You challenge him, this towering American expat with a soldier's buzz cut and a voice like grinding gears. He doesn't mince words. Amid the thunder of his Raichu, he drops this line that chills deeper than any thunderbolt. Kid, this ain't the playground. I almost lost my life in the war. The war. He says it casual, like it's common knowledge, but press him in the game, and it lingers. The war that nearly took my life. No name, no dates, no victors or villains. Just a man who survived something that broke the world he knew. Surge isn't alone in his haunted stare. Other veterans whisper fragments. The old man in the fighting dojo recalls battles that scarred more than flesh. Fishermen off Route 12 mutter about Pokémon turned weapons, loyalties shattered. But Surge embodies it. His gym a bunker from that era, wires sparking like live munitions, his badge the lightning badge, symbol of storms that raged beyond badges or leagues. He moved to Kanto after, they say, all rebuilding in a region still licking wounds. What war could forge a trainer like that? Turning playground rivals into life or death foes. And why does he coach it out of kids now? Like passing a torch from the ashes. Follow that thread north to Lavender Town, where the fog rolls thick and eternal, muffling your footsteps on crooked paths lined with headstones. Pokémon Tower rises like a sentinel. Its upper floor's a graveyard not just for Pokémon, but something heavier, unspoken. You climb those haunted stairs, the air growing colder, cries echoing from unseen ghastly and haunter swirling in the gloom. At the top, the Marowak ghost bars your path, a spectral mother forever mourning, but look closer at the tower itself. 8 floors of crypts packed with the remains of hundreds, maybe thousands, of Pokémon laid to rest in unmarked tiers. This isn't a pet cemetery for fallen comrades from journeys. The sheer scale screams monument. Gravestones cluster unnaturally dense, as if bodies piled faster than they could bury them. In 1996, no ceremonies for league losers here, no peaceful ends. The game calls them unknown Pokémon, restless spirits, refusing names, refusing peace. Channelers summon them in droves, their wails a chorus of the unavenged. Tie it to Surge's war, and the tower transforms. A mass grave for the frontline dead, Pokémon who charged into human hellfire, their trainers among Kanto's missing men. Lavender's perpetual mist hides scorch marks you swear you see in the pixels. The bone-white tower, a cenotaph to a conflict erased from history books, textbooks that don't exist in Pallet Town's sparse shelves. Why bury them here? On this haunted hill overlooking the sea, strategic maybe, a port for wartime shipments turned tomb, or ritualistic to contain the fallout of whatever unleashed those ghosts. Mr. Fuji at the top speaks of loss, but his eyes dart like he knows more, the sapphire pendant around his neck pulsing with old magic. Defeat the Marowak spirit, claim the silence badge from Erika later, irony thick as the fog, and still the questions burn. Did the war pit trainers against trainers, Pokémon against their own kind, or something wilder, Mewtwo's precursors raging unchecked? Kanto's silence screams it. Men marched off to that abyss. Pokémon filled the graves, and the boys left behind inherited a league built on their bones. Generations later, echoes ripple. Fossils in Mount Moon hint at prehistoric clashes amplified in modern times. Surge's war, undated but recent enough for him to fight young, slots before your adventure, a shadow league where badges meant survival. Fan maps overlay battlefields on routes, towers as bunkers, and it fits too perfectly. Game Freak layered it subtle in 1996, Japan fresh from post-war reflections, Pokémon as proxies for unthinkable violence. No wonder adults vanished. The war took them, left Kanto a cradle for child soldiers disguised as trainers. But amid those graves, one Pokémon wears death as armour, its mask a perpetual riddle, begging deeper unravel. That leads us straight into Chapter 2, the Cubone paradox, where a mother's skull hides secrets that could crack Kanto's silence wide open. As the fog of that long-ago war lingers over Kanto's empty streets and silent gyms, another shadow falls across Lavender Town's Pokémon Tower, where the wind carries faint, bone-chilling cries that no storm can explain. There, amid the graves and restless spirits, you first encounter Cubone, the lonely Pokémon, its small form hunched under a weathered skull helmet that gleams faintly in the moonlight. This isn't just a quirky design from the original 1996 games. It's the heart of a paradox that unravels the very fabric of Pokémon biology. Cubone clings to the skull of its deceased mother, a ritual born from profound grief, as detailed in every Pokédex entry since Red and Blue. The mother Marowak perishes shortly after birth, leaving her skull behind for the orphan to wear as both armour and eternal reminder. Picture it. A fragile hatchling, eyes wide with loss, slipping its head into that bony cowl, the weight of mourning shaping its every step. Trainers who raised them speak of Cubone's refusal to remove it, even in sleep, as if the skull anchors its soul to the world of the living. But here's where the nightmare begins, the biological impossibility of a species wearing its mother's skull. Each Cubone demands a fresh maternal remains to survive, yet no mechanism replenishes those skulls. Mothers die to provide them, but who provides for the next generation? The cycle snaps under its own logic, dooming the line to extinction before your eyes. You can almost hear the bony taps of Cubone's club against the tower's stone floors, a Morse code of despair echoing through Lavender's perpetual dusk. In the games, this tower stands as Kanto's mausoleum, stacked with headstones for fallen Pokémon, and Cubone roams its upper levels, guarding the sanctity of death. The anime deepens the horror. Episodes from the original series show Cubone weeping rivers of tears, its cries summoning storms, as if nature itself mourns the broken lineage. Yet populations persist across regions, from Kanto's misty hills to Johto's peaks, defying the math of mortality. One mother per child means a halving each generation, until none remain. Fossil records in Cerulean Cave whisper of ancient Cubone herds. But today's sightings grow rarer, as if the species teeters on oblivion's edge. Now turn your gaze to evolution's cruel twist, investigating the Marowak evolution and the depletion of the skull supply reveals an even graver flaw. At level 28, Cubone sheds its timid shell, transforming into Marowak, the Bonekeeper Pokémon, still donning that same maternal skull. Now hardened into a weapon of fire and fury in Alola's variants, but unyielding bone in Kanto, Marowak breeds true, producing more Cubone, each needing its own skull, but the evolved mother retains hers through adulthood, wielding it as a club that cracks with thunderous force. She never relinquishes it, not even in death's final embrace. So where do the skulls come from for her offspring? The supply depletes with every clutch, a pyramid scheme of bones collapsing under reproduction's weight. Pokédex lore insists Marowak fashions tools from shed bones, but maternal skulls are prized relics, passed untouched. Expeditions to the Pokémon Tower's depths uncover no stockpiles, only ghosts like the spectral Marowak whose unfinished business haunts trainers to this day. Her skull shattered, yet her spirit refuses to fade. Whispers among Kanto's elders, those grizzled survivors, like Lieutenant Surge nursing war scars, hint at interventions beyond nature. Dark theories regarding the cloning of skulls and the link to Team Rocket's cruelty surface in fan archives and data mined files from the games. Team Rocket, those black-hearted schemers infiltrating the tower itself in Lavender Town, weren't just grunts stealing Pokémon. They tampered with life at its core. Remember their slowpoke tail harvesting in Future City, slicing for profit without mercy? Scale that cruelty to bones. Labs hidden in Sylph Company's upper floors buzzed with genetic horrors, birthing Mewtwo from cloned cells. What if Cubone skulls were next? Theories posit rocket scientists reverse engineering Marowak remains, culturing bone tissue in vats of glowing serum, mass-producing helmets to sustain the species as unwitting soldiers. Why? A disposable army for the war. Surge survived, clad in undead armor, their cries masking Rocket's machinations. Glitches in the original cartridges even spawn ghost Marowak with ethereal skulls, as if failed clones bleed into reality. Evidence mounts in the shadows. In Pokémon Yellow, 1998's Pikachu tale, Rocket's tower occupation leaves spectral echoes, and Cubone sighting Spike post-evacuation, fresh skulls on every young one. The anime's Rocket trio experiments with Yamask masks, ghostly faces tied to human souls, blurring lines between bone and spirit. Could Cubone's maternal right be Rocket's graft? A perversion ensuring endless recruits? Depleted wild populations rebound only near their old bases. Unlike the sea foam islands' icy depths where fossilized Marowak bones litter caves, perhaps harvested and replicated. It's a chilling calculus. Without cloning, extinction by Generation 10. With Rocket's hand, immortality through atrocity. These threads weave tighter when you consider Kanto's broader silence, the absent fathers, the war-torn gyms, all propped by experiments no one dares name. Lavender Town's radio signal, that eerie static from 1996 Easter eggs, pulses with distorted Cubone wails, as if the skulls themselves broadcast warnings. Trainers who've bonded with Marowak report dreams of sterile labs, vats bubbling with bony replicas, Rocket laughter echoing off walls slick with preservative fluid. The paradox endures because something sustains it, at a cost drowned in secrecy. But Kanto's genetic nightmares don't end with bony helmets and phantom mothers. Deeper in the jungle fringes, fossilized secrets await that make Cubone's plight seem merciful. Coming up in Chapter 3, Project Mew and the Guyana Jungle, where ancient remains ignited experiments that reshaped creation itself. As the chilling logic of Cubone's skull supply unravels, leaving us to question how such a fragile cycle could sustain an entire species, we turn our gaze to another fossil-born enigma that cuts even deeper into Pokémon's origins. Deep within the tangled heart of the Guyana jungle lies the cradle of all Pokémon life, where the very first whispers of Mew echo through time. Picture the dense canopy of that untamed wilderness, vines twisting like forgotten DNA strands, air thick with the hum of unseen creatures. It's here, in 1998, that the first Pokémon movie unveiled a revelation that shattered our understanding. The cinematic reveal of Mew's fossilized remains, unearthed from the humid soil of South America. Not some distant myth, but tangible bones, gleaming under flashlight beams in a hidden cavern, their delicate structure hinting at a creature so elusive it birthed every Pokémon we know. Scientists in white coats, their faces etched with awe and ambition, cradle these relics, murmuring about genetic codes that pulse with primordial power. This wasn't just a discovery, it was the spark of Project Mew, a clandestine operation racing to resurrect the ancestor from extinction's grip. Yet why does the Pokémon world, with its palette towns and cerulean cities drawn from pure imagination, Dare to invoke the real-world Guyana jungle, only in its darkest corners? Think about it. You roam Kanto's verdant routes or Johto's misty peaks without a nod to our earthly maps. Every landmark a fictional veil. But plunge into the shadows of forbidden experiments and suddenly precise coordinates emerge. Guyana, that real swath of equatorial rainforest straddling Venezuela, Brazil, and Suriname, its name whispered like a curse. It's as if the creators reserved our planet's geography for the law's underbelly, where morality frays and nature's laws bend. No sunny safari zones or league stadiums carry such anchors. Only the grim expeditions, the ones laced with hubris, pull from our reality. Perhaps it's a deliberate chill, reminding us that true horror lurks where fiction meets the familiar, making the Guyana jungle feel not worlds away, but uncomfortably close. From those fossilized whispers, the trail leads straight to Cinnabar Island, that volcanic outpost off Kanto's coast, where steam hisses from crimson fissures and the air reeks of sulfur and secrecy. Nestled in its core squats the Pokémon Mansion, a charred ruin hiding laboratories that reek of ethical void. Here, under flickering fluorescent lights, Project Mew metastasized into something profane. Researchers, driven by the allure of those Guyana bones, cloned Mew's DNA, splicing it in sterile vats amid the rumble of distant eruptions. But cloning wasn't enough. They twisted it, amplifying power through artificial evolution, birthing Mewtwo in a tank of bubbling green fluid. The creature emerged not as a miracle, but a monstrosity, telekinetic fury incarnate, its psychic screams shattering glass as it realized its fabricated existence. That ethical void yawns wide when you peer into the Cinnabar Laboratory's underbelly. No oversight, no consent from the source material long turned to dust in Guyana's depths. Human ambition overrode nature's blueprint, treating life as code to rewrite. Mewtwo's rage wasn't mere plot device. It embodied the fallout of playing God without restraint. Diaries scattered in the mansion's ashes confess the horror. Failed clones discarded like lab waste. Genetic anomalies writhing in corners before mercy kills. The island itself seems cursed, its gym leader Blaine hoarding fire types as if to burn away the sins below. Even today, trainers who brave the rebuilt lab feel an unnatural chill, Pokédex entries glitching with phantom readings, as if Mewtwo's shadow lingers in the geothermal vents. This fusion of real-world Guyana relics and Kanto's volcanic ethics paints a Pokémon realm where creation stories curdle into nightmares. Mew, the joyful genetic wellspring, reduced to fodder for a lab-born abomination that questions every capture, every battle. Did those South American fossils carry a warning, etched in bone about tampering with life's root? The jungle's silence offers no answers, only the rustle of leaves concealing more undiscovered remains, perhaps siblings to Mew waiting in amber traps. And as Project Mew's echoes fade into Cinnabar's fumes, another Kanto-born riddle emerges from the shadows, one that spanned an entire decade without resolution. In the next chapter, the GS Ball, A Decade of Silence, will uncover the mysterious orb handed to Ash in 1998, its contents confirmed years later yet forever abandoned. What force inside demanded such eternal hush? As those fossilized whispers from the Guyana jungle echo into the Pokémon world's hidden geographies, the anime steps forward to deepen the enigma, pulling us from ancient bones into a gleaming artifact that promised revelations but delivered only silence. In the heart of Johto's lush forests, during the 1998 episodes marking the shift into this new region, a silver-haired trainer materializes from the mist like a spectre from another time. He hands Ash Ketchum a peculiar Poké Ball, not the standard red and white design you're used to, but one etched with golden rings, pulsing with an otherworldly sheen. This is the GS Ball named for gold and silver, the games that inspired the Ark, and from the moment it appears, it hangs over the journey like a storm cloud you can't quite see. Ash and his companions trek through Azalea Town, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, seeking answers. They deliver the ball to Kurt, the reclusive craftsman hidden in the woods, master of turning apricorns into Poké Balls. Kurt examines it closely, his weathered hands turning it over under flickering lantern light. He can't open it. No mechanism yields, no Pokémon emerges. Whatever's inside defies the very tools he wields. He promises to investigate, to unravel its secrets, and the protagonists leave it behind, the camera lingering on that enigmatic sphere nestled in his workshop. Episode after episode builds the tension. Hints of time distortions ripple through Ilex Forest, Celebi's shrine nearby humming with unseen energy, strange visions flickering at the edges of battles. Fans leaned in, notebooks open, theorizing wildly about what power slumbered within. But then, nothing. The plot thread unravels without a tug. No return visit to Kurt, no dramatic unveiling, no clash with the legendary inside. The GS Ball simply vanishes from the narrative, abandoned mid-arc, leaving viewers staring at blank screens week after week. This was the 1999 anime mystery that was abandoned without a televised resolution. A void that stretched across the Johto saga and beyond, mocking every promise of epic Pokémon lore. Seasons rolled on, Ash battled gym leaders, conquered leagues, but that ball, forgotten as if erased from the script itself. Whispers spread among fans, glitches in the Pokédex. A sealed demon, or something tied to Johto's ancient time guardians waiting to warp reality. Nearly a decade passed in that hush, the question festering like an untreated wound in the fandom's collective memory. Then, in 2008, director Masamitsu Hidaka broke the silence in an interview that rippled through forums and archives. He confessed outright the GS Ball was intended to contain Celebi, the mythical time-traveling fairy Pokémon, heart of Johto's legends. Picture it, the grass-type sprite, wings shimmering green, emerging to hurl Ash through temporal loops, weaving the game's crystal version lore into the anime's fabric. Hidaka laid it bare. Scripts were drafted, storyboards sketched, voice actors prepped for the encounter. Celebi would have danced through forests, bending history, perhaps even linking back to those Kanto war scars we explored earlier, showing Pokémon caught in humanity's forgotten conflicts across eras. So why the scrub? Why seal Celebi away just as the arc crested? The answer lies in the cold calculus of a burgeoning movie franchise. Pokémon 4 Ever, released in 2002, centered on Celebi as its star, a theatrical spectacle grossing millions, with grand visions of time rifts and human Pokémon bonds that demanded exclusivity. Revealing the GS Ball's secret in the weekly anime risked diluting that magic, spoiling box office gold, or creating canon clashes. The studio pulled the plug to protect the film, prioritizing silver screens over television fidelity. Celebi stayed movie-bound, the GS Ball reduced to a dangling thread, its contents confirmed only years later in that quiet confession. Hidaka's words hung heavy, production higher-ups decreed it, leaving animators to pivot awkwardly, filling episodes with filler battles, while the real mystery molded. You can almost feel the betrayal in Johto's glades today. The shrine where Celebi should have appeared stands empty in remakes, a digital ghost town echoing the anime's letdown. Fans dissected every frame, spotting cut concept art in old magazines, leaked scripts surfacing online years later, detailing battles against masked men guarding temporal gates. What if it had aired? Ash hurtling through decades, witnessing Mewtwo's birth or Surge's war firsthand. The ripple effects could have rewritten the anime's timeline, binding games and episodes tighter than ever. Instead, we got silence, a decade-long tease that fuels sleepless nights even now, proving Pokémon's lore thrives in the unresolved, where shadows hide the darkest potentials. And yet, amid these abandoned arcs, another Pokémon from Ash's past lingers in even deeper obscurity. Trained in secret and never called back, its fate a punch to the gut that demands we uncover what became of it next in Chapter 5, The Abandoned Primeape. As the echoes of that forsaken GS ball fade into Johto's forgotten timelines, another anime thread unravels even earlier, pulling us back to the raw, unpolished days of Ash Ketchum's original journey. In episode 52 of the 1997 series, aired just months after the pilot that introduced a 10-year-old boy to the world, Ash faces off against a trainer named Anthony in a mountain pass shrouded by Harugian flowers blooming under a relentless sun. Anthony, once a promising fighter himself, had abandoned his own Primeape years before, leaving it to rage alone until it evolved into a force of unbridled fury. Their battle is brutal, fists flying in a haze of dust and growls, Primeape's eyes burning with the kind of loyalty that only comes from shared hardship. Ash's Primeape, caught earlier in a frenzy of wild temper after evolving from Mankey, mirrors that rage perfectly. You've seen it charge through bouts with unyielding power, its championship spirit shining in the Indigo League qualifiers, where it pummeled Onyx and Charmeleon alike. But after this clash with Anthony, something shifts. Anthony pleads with Ash, his voice cracking over the wind-whipped peaks. He needs a partner who can tame Primeape's wild heart, turn it into a world-class contender. Ash, ever the wide-eyed optimist, agrees. He hands over his fighter, his companion, with a solemn vow. Ash Ketchum's 1997 promise to return for his champion fighter rings clear as he says he'll come back once he's earned the right badges, once he's proven himself worthy of reclaiming his Pokémon. That promise hangs there, as solid as the Poké Ball pressed into Anthony's palm. Primeape watches Ash leave, its glare a mix of betrayal and fierce pride, muscles rippling under fur matted with sweat and pollen. Anthony vows to train it relentlessly, to forge it into the ultimate battler. They'll climb mountains together, spar until dawn cracks the horizon, and wait for Ash's triumphant return. The episode closes on that high note, the screen fading to credits with swelling orchestral hope. But then, silence. 25 years of nothing. Primeape vanishes from Ash's roster, scrubbed from every adventure that follows. No cameo in the Orange Islands, no roar during the Johto saga, no punch in Hoenn's gyms or Sinnoh's leagues. This fan favourite, the brawler who defined Ash's early grit, slips into oblivion, absent from the main anime continuity, despite its iconic status among viewers who still chant its name in nostalgia forums. By the time Ash chases legendaries across Alola or masters the World Coronation Series in 2023, Primeape is a ghost, reduced to pixelated memories in old episode recaps. Why? The creators never explain. No letter from Anthony arrives. No chance encounter on a dusty road. It's as if the Poké Ball dissolved into ether the moment Ash turned away. This isn't isolated heartbreak. Think of all those Pokémon entrusted to temporary trainers along Ash's path, promises whispered in haste before the plot train rolls on. There's the herd of Tauros from the Safari Zone, left grazing in Pallet Town's fields, never summoned again after their capture frenzy. Picture soaring free in Viridian Forest with a plea to return post-league, abandoned when Kanto called Ash back too soon. Butterfree, released to mate in the Misty Valley, its wings a final goodbye fluttering into the unknown. Speculating on the fate of Pokémon left in the care of temporary trainers opens a chasm of unease. Do they thrive? Bonds unbroken across regions? Or do they pine in limbo, training endlessly for a master who forgets? Picture Anthony's secluded dojo, high in those same mountains where Harugian petals carpet the ground like fallen stars. Years pass, 5, 10, 20. Primeape grows stronger, veins bulging from endless shadowboxing against boulders that crumble to gravel under its rage fists. But Ash never returns. Does Primeape's fury curdle into despair, its evolution stunted by abandonment? Anthony, aging under the sun's merciless gaze, might whisper tales of their old trainer to keep the fire alive, but doubts creep in. Rumours persist among fans. A shadowy figure resembling a bulked-up Primeape spotted in later Johto episodes, lurking in the bell tower's ruins, eyes hollow with waiting. Or worse, did it revert to wild rage, rampaging alone, like Anthony's original story? A champion reduced to a feral legend? The anime's pattern is chilling. Pokémon like these become narrative casualties, props for growth arcs that prioritize Ash's endless forward march. No check-ins, no heartfelt reunions. In a world where bonds are supposed to transcend time and distance, these loose ends fester. Primeape's absence stings deepest because it was a champion, handpicked for glory. 25 years on, with Ash now a world champion himself, where is it? Evolved into a Nihilate in some remote cave, haunted by unfinished promises. Handed off again to another fleeting trainer, lost in a chain of neglect. Or simply erased, a victim of production shifts that favoured new catches over old loyalties. Fan theories multiply like Mankey swarms. Some dig into supplemental media, a manga side story where Anthony's Primeape dominates underground circuits. It scars a map of patient fury. Others point to game crossovers like Pokémon Stadium's battle modes where Primeape lurks as an echo, forever primed for Ash's command. But canon? Silent. The 2022 Masters 8 tournament flashes every major partner, yet no Primeape crashes the stage. It's a deliberate void, mirroring the GS Ball's abandonment, a reminder that not every promise endures in this sprawling universe. As Johto's shadows deepen with these broken oaths, whispers from Ecruteak City's charred spires draw us closer to flames that refuse to die. In Chapter 6, The Burned Tower's Secret, we'll uncover the inferno that scorched legends and left eternal ashes, guarding beasts that time itself fears to touch. What scorched the heart of Johto, and why do the ruins still scream for vengeance? Stay with me as the night pulls us under. As Ash's Primeape vanished into the shadows of that forgotten training promise, Johto itself began to whisper of even greater losses, etched into the charred bones of its ancient landmarks. In the heart of Ecruteak City stands the burned tower, a skeletal ruin that still carries the faint, acrid tang of smoke from a fire that raged centuries ago, swallowing lives and legends whole. This isn't just crumbling stone, it's a scar on the region's soul, drawing trainers like moths to its flickering past. Local elders speak in hushed tones of the blaze that consumed the tower around 450 years before the events of Gold and Silver. Flames licked high into the night sky, devouring wooden beams and tapestries woven with tales of the divine. Amid the inferno, 3 unnamed Pokémon met their end, their cries lost to the roar of collapsing timbers. These weren't ordinary creatures scampering from danger. They were beasts of raw power, unnamed in the scrolls that survived the ashes, their forms twisted in agony as the fire claimed them. The 1999 legend of the 3 unnamed Pokémon who perished in the flames spread like embers across Johto, fueling ghost stories that Morty, the gym leader of Ecruteak, guards to this day with his spectral team. You can almost feel the heat rising from the tower's floorboards even now, warped and blackened, where players in those early games first step inside expecting treasure or triumph. Instead, the ground gives way, plunging you into darkness below, where the air hangs heavy with dust and unspoken grief. Morty warns of restless spirits, and sure enough, the air shimmers with unease. But the true horror lies not in the ghosts that haunt the present, but in what those flames erased from history. Why did the fire start? Arson from rival clans jealous of the tower's sacred relics, or a divine test gone catastrophically wrong? The records are silent, burned away, leaving only fragments pieced together by wandering sages. From the heavens, Ho-Oh witnessed the tragedy, the rainbow-winged phoenix circling the pyre like a mournful sentinel. Touched by the purity of those lost souls, even in death, it descended in a blaze of radiant light, resurrecting the beasts from the embers. Ho-Oh's resurrection of the beasts and the birth of the legendary dogs marked a miracle born of devastation, transforming ordinary tragedy into eternal legend. Raikou, the thunderclap embodiment of lightning's fury, with fur crackling like storm clouds, Entei, the volcanic heart of fire's unyielding rage. Suicune, the graceful guardian of pure waters, her crystalline mane shimmering like untouched streams. They burst forth not as they once were, but reborn elemental titans roaming Johto's wilds, forever chasing the wind to soothe their scorched origins. Yet, here's where the shadows deepen, pulling you further into the mystery. What were these Pokémon before the fire? Uncovering the identity of the original Pokémon before their elemental rebirth has obsessed fans and lore-masters for decades, sifting through faded murals in the Bell Tower and cryptic Pokédex entries. Some whisper they were hulking, wolf-like creatures native to Johto's ancient forests, untamed predators with hides tough as leather and eyes fierce with primal hunger. Others point to cave paintings near the Tin Tower depicting three beasts entangled in flames, their forms eerily similar to striped hyenas or massive felines prowling the savannas beyond the region's borders. Dive deeper, and theories collide like thunder. Were they precursors to the EV line, versatile beasts twisted by fire into single-element paragons? Raikou electric surges hint at a Jolteon heritage, Entei's molten breath echoing Flareon, Suicune's fluid, grace mirroring Vaporeon. Or perhaps they were feral Growlithe evolutions, Arcanine kin hardened by Johto's harsh winters, only to be forged anew in Ho-Oh's mercy. Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver expanded the tale, letting you chase these roaming spectres across misty moors and rain-swept peaks, their howls echoing the tower's collapse. But no game ever names them outright. No anime episode fills the void left by those flames. Consider the implications as you trace their paths on an old map under moonlight. Raikou streaks across Route 36 like a living bolt, leaving scorched grass in its wake. Entei erupts from volcanic lairs near Xianwood, shaking the earth with pores like magma. Suicune appears in purifying rains, her presence a balm on tainted lands. They're not vengeful, they're restless, bound by resurrection to wander eternally, as if seeking the tower's lost piece. Fan excavations of game data reveal unused sprites, shadowy silhouettes in the fire's glow, that never made the final cut, fueling speculation of even darker origins, perhaps tied to the war veterans like El Tenant. Surge hinted at back in Kanto. The burned tower pulls you back time and again, its lower levels riddled with wild Pokémon that seem drawn to the site as if feeding on residual energy. HM Surf reveals submerged chambers, walls etched with claw marks from beasts long gone. Morty's gym across the street pulses with unknown script, hinting at linguistic keys to the unnamed trio's true names. Yet for all this, the legend endures unresolved, a puzzle where resurrection birthed gods from ghosts. Ho-Oh's gift was no simple revival, it amplified their essences, binding fire's memory to their immortal forms. These beasts don't just roam, they embody Johto's duality, destruction yielding beauty, loss birthing legend. Spotting them in Crystal's enhanced engine feels like glimpsing divinity, their cries a symphony of storm, blaze, and cascade. But peel back the myth, and questions burn hotter than the tower itself. Did Ho-Oh choose them for their nobility and death, or were they sacrifices in a forgotten ritual? The Pokédex notes their clear blue eyes unchanged post-rebirth, a clue to pre-fire identities staring back from ordinary packs. As the embers of this Johto enigma cool, the spectral whispers grow louder elsewhere, drifting across oceans to haunted graves where a ghostly girl searches endlessly for the one who got away. Those chilling echoes await in Chapter 7, Hoenn's spectral echoes where the dead refuse to stay buried. As the ashes of the burned tower settled in Johto, birthing legends from the brink of oblivion, Hoenn waited across the sea with graves that refused to stay silent. M80. Pyre rises from the ocean's edge, like a colossal funeral pyre frozen in time, its peak crowned by the sacred flame where souls of departed Pokémon are said to ascend. You climb its winding paths, the air thick with salt and sorrow, stepping over urns etched with forgotten names. each one a vessel for ashes carried by grieving trainers from across the region. But something stirs in the shadows here, a presence that turns reverence into raw unease. This is the haunting of Mount Pyre, where the veil between life and the beyond thins to a whisper. Trainers speak of cold drafts snaking through the chambers, even on the sunniest days, and faint cries echoing from the summit that no living Pokémon could make. The graves shift overnight, urns toppled as if restless hands clawed from below. And then she appears, gliding through the mist without footsteps, her form translucent against the flickering torchlight. The first ghost girl materializes in these depths, her eyes hollow voids searching your face before she murmurs words that chill deeper than any grave. Hoenn's creators unveiled this spectral encounter not in the original 2002 games, but in their polished echoes 12 years later, pulling back a curtain on dread that had simmered beneath the surface all along. Ruby and Sapphire swept you into a world of vibrant oceans and lush skies, badges gleaming under tropical suns, yet cracks formed early. Gym leaders whispered of primal forces unraveling the land, meteorites crashing from the heavens, and a sky pillar piercing clouds where the world's balance teetered. What began as light-hearted adventure chasing 8 badges twisted into existential dread, your choices dictating floods that swallow cities or droughts that crack the earth. No longer just battles for glory, but a race against apocalypse, where legendaries clash not in myth, but in cataclysmic fury that drowns or desiccates everything you hold dear. This obsession with the end of the world through climate catastrophe pulses at Hoenn's heart, woven into every route and ruin. The Weather Institute squats on a storm-lashed route, its labs buzzing with data on tempests that rage unnaturally long, hinting at manipulations beyond human folly. Kyogre awakens in abyssal caves, its primal form surging with cave moisture that evaporates skies into endless downpours, seas rising to claim Slateport's harbours and drown the tidal in perpetual waves. Gruden counters from volcanic depths, red scales scorching the atmosphere dry, deserts blooming where jungles once thrived, rivers vanishing into parched beds. These aren't mere rivals, they're harbingers of biblical resets, their clash birthing megastorms that uproot Dewford's palms and bury Lavarage in ash clouds. Devastation arrives in primal reversion, ancient plates unlocking godlike rages fueled by blue and red orbs, relics from a time when Hoenn's founders perhaps tampered with nature's fury. Why this fixation on watery dooms and fiery extinctions? Poke through the lore, and you find echoes of real-world tremors. Released in 2002 amid rising global anxieties over melting poles and blistering summers, Hoenn mirrors those fears in pixelated prophecy. The Elite Four's chambers overlook wastelands born of imbalance, Glacier's ice walls melting under Kyogre's gaze, while Sydney's shadows dance in perpetual twilight from eclipsed suns. Even Rayquaza, the Sky Guardian coiled in ozone heights, intervenes only when continents threaten to submerge or shatter, its dragon roar splitting mega-evolved forms to enforce fragile peace. But peace fractures easily. Dive too deep into Sky Pillar's murals, and you see cycles of devastation repeating, etched by hands that knew no reset button. Back on Mount Pyre, the ghost girl doesn't wander aimlessly. She patrols the mausoleum's heart, phasing through pillars of stacked urns, her gaze piercing each visitor with desperate intent. Witnesses from the remakes describe her tattered dress fluttering in unseen winds, pale hair veiling a face frozen in eternal youth, forever trapped between farewell and fury. She blocks paths to the flame, her voice a hollow echo, a plea laced with accusation, as if the dead demand answers from the living. Theories swirl in fan archives. Is she a trainer lost to Gruden's lava flows, her team reduced to cinders? Or a victim of Kyogre's deluge, pulled under while clutching her last Poké Ball? Her presence ties the graveyard to Hoenn's doomsday obsessions, suggesting Mount Pyre isn't just a cemetery, but a nexus where climate cataclysms bleed into the afterlife, souls anchored by unfinished apocalypses. Delve deeper, and the dread multiplies. The original 2002 cartridges hid subtler omens. Route 119's endless rain, mirroring encroaching floods. Fortree City's treetops a fragile haven from rising tides. Team Aqua and Magma weren't cartoon villains. Their leaders invoked red and blue orbs as divine mandates, blind to the irony that their salvation summoned biblical plagues. Aqua dreamed of endless oceans to nurture sea life, yet drowned farmlands and starved coastal towns. Magma sought arid expansion for land Pokémon, but ignited wildfires that choked Mauville's neon glow. This duality grips Hoenn's soul, every victory bittersweet, every legendary tamed a Pandora's box one mistake from unleashing anew. The spectral echoes amplify in the remakes, where Delta episode strands you amid meteor showers foretelling Rayquaza's wrath, Deoxys twisting space itself into knots. Pyre's hauntings feel personal now, the ghost girl's emergence marking Hoenn's pivot from badge-hunting romp to a meditation on impermanence. Her silent vigils guard more than graves. They whisper of trainers who chased power without reckoning the cost, their Pokémon's urns piling as monuments to hubris. Feel the weight as you ascend those stairs again in your mind's eye, the salt sting in your nostrils, the urns chill underfoot, her form materializing like fog coalescing into judgment. And those words she utters, drifting on graveyard winds. They cut to the core of every unsolved spectre we've unearthed. You're not the one. What desperate quest drags her through Pyre's depths, rejecting trainer after trainer in her endless search? Next, we unravel You Are Not the One, where this ghost's origins pierce straight to the heart of ancient wars and weapons that scarred the world forever. But that existential dread from the original Ruby and Sapphire didn't fade with time. It lingered, waiting to resurface in a way no one saw coming. Fast forward to 2014, when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire hit the scene as faithful remakes of those 2002 classics. Players dove back into Hoenn's waters and skies, expecting nostalgia. What they got instead was a chilling callback that etched itself into gaming memory. Deep inside Mount Pyre, the towering mausoleum where souls of fallen Pokémon whisper through the fog-shrouded peaks, she appeared again. Not just any spectral figure, but the Lumio's ghost girl herself, transplanted from Kalos's glittering streets to this island of the dead. You climb those spiraling paths, the air thick with incense and echoes of grief, and there she stands at the summit shrine. Her form flickers like a glitch in reality, pale dress billowing in an unfelt wind, eyes hollow yet piercing. She glides forward, mouth moving in silence at first, then those words cut through the static. You are not the one. She repeats it, deliberate haunting, before dissolving into pixels and mist. That 2014 ORAS encounter terrified a new generation of players, spawning forum threads that burned late into the night. Players convinced they'd brushed against something cursed in their own save files. Why Hoenn? Why now? She first manifested a year earlier in X and Y, haunting the elevator of Lumio's City's Prism Tower. After restoring power to the city's derelict plant, you ride up alone, the creaking machinery your only company. Midway, the lights stutter. She materializes between floors, blocking your path, her voice a digital rasp. You're not the one. Gone in an instant, leaving you questioning if it was a dream or a deliberate trap. That Kalos debut tied her to the region's buried war, the ultimate weapon that drained life from armies 3,000 years prior. But her journey to Hoenn demands closer scrutiny, a puzzle pieced together from code dives and pattern analysis. Trace her path, and the implications unfold like a map drawn in shadows. She doesn't teleport randomly. Her appearances follow a deliberate trail, as if pulled by unfinished business across oceans. In X and Y, she's bound to Lumios, the heart of Kalos's ancient conflict, orbiting the tower that once housed the king's doomsday device. Power it up, disturb the ruins below with their unfinished rooms and humming conduits, and she stirs. But in Oras, she's migrated southeast, materializing precisely at Mount Pyre's apex, the Hoenn equivalent of a Pokémon necropolis. Data miners and speedrunners pored over the files, mapping her spawn conditions. She triggers only under specific flags post-game, after certain legendaries are awakened, when the veil between worlds thins. Analyzing the movement patterns of the Lumio's ghost girl as she travels to Hoenn reveals a coded pilgrimage, from Kalus's weapon-scarred epicenter across uncharted seas to a graveyard steeped in death rituals. No sprites or models were ported wholesale. Her animations sync perfectly with Hoenn's engine, gliding with the same eerie hover, her palette adjusted to the Pyre's violet haze. It's as if the game's data streams carried her soul, hitchhiking through Nintendo's development builds. What pulls her there? The answer hides in her taunt, that relentless refrain implying a quest. She's not haunting indiscriminately, she's sifting through trainers, dismissing them one by one. You are not the one. Not the one for what? Players dissected this, spawning theories of a linked event chain, aborted in development. The search for a specific trainer ID and the implications of a digital haunting point to something profound. Every player carries a unique trainer ID, a hexadecimal stamp burned into your save at the Oak in Litleroot Town. Hers seems tuned to hunt a precise match, perhaps the ID of the one who fired the ultimate weapon, King Azid himself, or his eternal Floette, lost in petrification. Trigger her enough times across playthroughs, and patterns emerge in fan recreations. Faint data echoes in the files reference Kalos flags, as if she's scanning your profile against a ghost in the machine. This isn't mere Easter egg. It's a digital poltergeist, embedded code, behaving like sentient code. Her spawns bypass standard NPC routines. She phases through collision, her voice synthesized from warped battle cries, looping indefinitely until conditions align. Implications ripple outward. Is she a fragment of Zygarde's oversight, Kalus's guardian fragmented by the war? Or a victim of the weapon, her data corrupted across regions, forever seeking the hand that doomed her? M80. Pyre's graves, stacked with memorials to the departed, mirror Lumio's sealed power plant, places of ritual and ruin. She crosses from one to the other, ignoring borders, as if Hoenn's primal energies resonate with Kalus's tech-fueled apocalypse. Players reported chills beyond the screen, saves glitching post-encounter, audio loops persisting into menus, fueling tales of a curse that follows you home. Data miners peeled back layers, uncovering strings buried in Oris's executables, references to Lumiose scrubbed, but not fully erased, her model compressed from XY assets. Why include her at all? A nod to crossovers, or a hint at the war's reach? Hoenn's lore already brimmed with legendaries reborn from calamity, like the Regis guarding primal reversal. Pair that with Mount, Pyre's eternal watch over the departed, and her presence suggests a multiversal bleed. She's judging you, player, as proxy for history's sinners. Not the one to end the cycle, not the one to lay her to rest. What if that trainer ID exists? Yours, or a developer's, or some mythic 0 point? The digital haunting implies persistence beyond patches. She's in every cart, every emulator, waiting for her match. Fan recreations pushed further, modding hybrid ROMs where she roams freely. She drifts from Pyre to the power plant's analogues, like New Malville's depths, whispering rejection to every avatar. Broader ties emerge, the war's petrified armies, speculated to litter Galar's fossil pits or Paldea's craters, could explain her migration. Hoenn, with its meteor-scarred skies and seafloor ruins, sits as a nexus. She's the bridge, the unresolved thread from Gen 6's revelations back to Gen 3's dread. And as her echoes fade into Hoenn's mists, another anomaly waits in the wings, one that shattered tournament dreams with impossible power. Coming up, the Tobias anomaly pulls us into Sinnoh's shadows, where a single trainer's hidden roster defies all logic, as the Lumio's ghost glides away from Mount. Pyre, her chilling words echoing into silence, the veil between Pokémon's worlds thins once more. But this time, the anomaly isn't a spectral whisper in a graveyard. It's a living enigma striding onto the battlefield of the Sinnoh League itself. In the heart of the 2010 Sinnoh League, the most controversial and unexplained character in Pokémon anime history emerged without warning. His name was Tobias. A trainer shrouded in shadow, he dominated the tournament like a force from another dimension, crushing opponent after opponent with Pokémon no ordinary human could claim. Picture the roar of the crowd in Sunnyshore's City, the stakes higher than ever as Ash Ketchum fought his way toward his dream. Dawn and Brock by his side, Pikachu sparking with determination. Yet when Tobias stepped into the light, everything shifted. Tobias didn't just win battles, he obliterated them. His first revealed Pokémon was Darkrai, the pitch-black Pokémon, a mythical creature born from nightmares, forbidden from standard contests or trades. Darkrai, whose mere presence induces eternal sleep, whose bad dreams ability drains life from slumbering foes. How had this trainer tamed such a being? No cave explorations in New Moon Island, no ancient rituals under a crescent moon, just instant command. He unleashed Darkrai's Dark Void, a move so overpowered it was later banned from competitive play, sweeping entire teams into unconsciousness. One by one, elite trainers fell. Hall, with his disciplined Torterra and Electivire, Barry, full of youthful fire, even veterans who'd clawed through preliminaries. The league broadcast froze in awe, as Darkrai's shadowy tendrils claimed victory after victory, not a single scratch on its midnight blue form. Then came Ash's turn, the final hurdle to the championship match. The stadium lights dimmed, tension thick as fog rolling off Lake Valor. Pikachu faced Darkrai first, thunderbolts clashing against waves of pure darkness. But Darkrai's power was unrelenting. Dark Void pulled Pikachu under, Snorlax followed into the void, and even Swellow couldn't break free. Ash's team crumbled, one sleep-induced defeat at a time. Desperate, he called out his last hope, Sceptile, the noble grass type who'd overcome paralysis before. Yet Darkrai's nightmare aura proved too much, leaving Ash battered but unbroken in spirit. That's when Tobias revealed his second Pokémon, Latios, the Eon Pokémon, a legendary guardian of the skies, partner to Latias in tales of psychic flight across southern seas. Latios, whose soul dew amplifies speed to blur the eye, whose memento can sacrifice itself for allies. No struggle, no epic capture montage, just another impossible ally at Tobias's side. Latios sealed Ash's fate with effortless precision, psychic blasts and dragon pulses ending the match before it truly began. Tobias advanced to the finals, claiming the Sinnoh League crown off-screen, his victory a footnote in the chaos. But here's where the shadows deepen. How did a trainer obtain a Darkrai and Latios without any backstory or struggle? No episodes of perilous journeys to shattered world events or hidden latitudes. No mentors, no badges earned on screen, no hint of his origins. Tobias appeared in episode 191 of Diamond and Pearl, vanished after the league, never to return. Fans scoured the anime for clues. Nothing. Not a single prior sighting in Sinnoh's vast landscapes, from the frosted peaks of Snow Point to the geothermal springs of Stark Mountain. His age? Indeterminate, his demeanor calm to the point of detachment, as if he existed outside the narrative flow. This void sparked endless debate. Was his full team 6 legendaries, a roster of gods mocking the grind of every other trainer? Darkrai, Latios, and whispers of Cresselia, Heatran, or even Dialga to countertime itself. The anime left it ambiguous, but the implication hung heavy. Tobias represented perfection unattained, a glitch in the story's fabric. Production notes from the era hint at rushed scripting amid the global financial crisis, yet no excuses explain his arsenal. Darkrai's event distributions were rare, tied to real-world movies like the 10th film in 2007, but Tobias wielded it casually, unbound by canon restrictions. Deeper still, a chilling theory persists among lore hunters. Tobias was a developer tool manifested within the anime canon. Think about it. In game development, test characters roam unfinished builds, overpowered avatars to stress maps, movesets, and animations. Darkrai's Dark Void needed showcasing before its competitive ban, Latios a bridge to Hoenn's Eon duo. The Sinnoh League arc, spanning episodes 181 to 192, served as a climax, but Tobias felt inserted, a placeholder to elevate stakes without building rivals organically. His generic design, silver hair, dark cloak, echoes NPC templates from Platinum's Battle Frontier. No voice actor credits delved into his psyche. He spoke sparingly, almost scripted. Fan forums exploded post-airing. Reddit threads from 2010 dissected frame by frame. Tobias's Poké Balls lacked standard animations, his commands too precise as if puppeteered by coders. Japanese message boards tied him to beta leaks, where unused League champions wielded mythicals. Even Shudo Takeshi, early anime head writer, alluded in interviews to external forces influencing arcs, though never naming Tobias. In a franchise where legendaries demand trials, like Brandon's Regi trio or Cynthia's Garchomp, Tobias bypassed it all, a meta intrusion bleeding into the show. The anomaly lingers because it broke immersion. Ash's losses built character, but Tobias's ease mocked the journey. Post-League, Sinnoh faded, no rematch, no explanation. 20 years on, with Journeys wrapping Ash's saga in 2023, Tobias remains a spectre, fueling mods where he's Arceus' avatar or a Mewtwo experiment unbound. His Darkrai sleeps eternally in collective memory, a reminder that Pokemon's world hides tools turned characters, powers without price. And from these unexplained trainers wielding forbidden might, shadows stretch further to an ancient cataclysm that reshaped entire regions. Up next in Chapter 10, the ultimate weapon of Kalos, where a king's desperation unleashed a force that petrified armies and scarred the earth forever. Did it strike Galar or carve Paldea's crater? The truth waits in the ruins. While Tobias slipped away into the shadows of Sinnoh's League, leaving us with more questions than answers about his impossible team. The true scale of Pokemon's hidden conflicts reveals itself in Kalos, a region scarred by a weapon so devastating it drained the life from entire armies 3,000 years ago. Deep beneath the elegant streets of Lumiose City, where cafe lights flicker like distant stars against the night sky, lies the heart of this ancient catastrophe. The ultimate weapon, a towering spire of forgotten technology, emerged from the earth in the games of 2013. Its activation replayed in holographic visions that chill even the most seasoned trainers. Picture the soil trembling as energy surges upward, a beam of pure, merciless light, piercing the heavens, siphoning vitality from every living thing in its path. This wasn't mere destruction, it was erasure, turning flesh to stone in an instant, leaving behind a battlefield frozen in eternal agony. At the center of this horror stands King Az, a figure whose name echoes through Kalosian ruins like a curse whispered on the wind. 3,000 years ago, his grief consumed him entirely. His beloved Floette, a tiny Pokemon of vibrant petals and unyielding loyalty, fell in the chaos of war, its life snuffed out amid clashing armies. Az, once a visionary king who floated above his kingdom on mechanical wings, could not bear the loss. He poured his fortune, his genius, and his shattered soul into crafting the ultimate weapon, a machine fueled by the very essence of life itself. Driven mad by sorrow, he fired the life-draining laser from the heart of Lumiose, unleashing a pulse that swept across the land, petrifying foes and friends alike in a wave of crystalline death. Floette itself, caught in the blast, became one of the first victims, its form locked forever in that tragic moment. You can still see the remnants today, etched into the Kalosian soil like ghosts refusing to fade. Petrified Pokemon and humans alike protrude from the earth near Azalea Town and the Pokemon Village, their twisted shapes half buried under layers of dirt and time. A Rhyhorn frozen mid-charge, its rocky hide fused with human armor, a flock of Spearow turned to brittle statues, wings outstretched in futile flight, soldiers locked in screams. their weapons raised against an invisible doom. These aren't mere fossils, they're monuments to the king's vengeance, visible proof that the war consumed everything. Excavations hint at thousands more beneath the surface, entire battalions preserved in perfect, horrifying detail, their eyes wide with the shock of instant petrification. This great war, shrouded in vague prophecies and fragmented murals, raged between Kalos and an unnamed aggressor, a conflict so brutal it makes Kanto's veteran tales feel like skirmishes. Armies of humans and Pokémon clashed over resources or ideology. We may never know, but the weapon's beam didn't just end the battle, it reshaped the world. Energy harvested from those countless lives powered Aziz's eternal flotation device, granting him immortality, wandering the regions as a hollow shell, his Floette's revival the only flicker of hope in his endless exile. And here's where the threads pull tighter across generations. That same life-draining force, scattered by the blast, connects directly to the energy crises haunting modern eras. In Galar, the darkest day unfolds as a direct consequence, Eternatus crashing into the land bloated with volatile power, its endless energy overflow birthing Dynamax anomalies and fossil graveyards that mirror Kalos's petrified fields. Mass graves of Pokémon from a bygone age surface in the wild area, their bones warped by the same radiant curse, suggesting the weapon's fallout drifted across oceans, igniting Galar's perpetual power struggles. Even Paldea's great crater whispers of a possible ground zero, its anomalous terrain hiding secrets that could confirm the beam's trajectory. AZ himself drifts through the games like a spectre, his mechanical throne humming with stolen vitality, challenging players to battles that feel less like sport and more like judgment. His Floette, revived through sheer miracle after 3,000 years of separation, blooms anew on his shoulder, a poignant reminder that even in Pokémon's darkest lore, bonds endure. Yet the weapon remains buried, its chamber sealed, a dormant threat beneath Lumios's glow. As Zygarde slumbers in wait, guarding ecosystems ravaged by such hubris, questions linger in the flickering lights of unfinished facilities. What other remnants pulse with that ancient energy, hidden just out of reach? That brings us to Chapter 11, the locked power plant, where sealed doors guard chambers that could unravel the full extent of Kalos's lingering curse. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. As the petrified remains of that ancient war settle into the Kalosian soil, their stone forms whispering of King Azid's desperate blast, your journey through the region pulls you eastward toward a facility humming with forgotten purpose. The Kalos power plant squats in the heart of Route 13, its massive silos piercing the horizon like relics from a steampunk fever dream, generators throbbing with an unnatural rhythm that echoes the ultimate weapon's lingering pulse. You step inside, the air thick with ozone and the faint crackle of electricity, Pokémon skittering in the shadows, Electrike sparking at your heels, Magnemite drifting like lost souls. But as you navigate the corridors, restoring power to flickering lights and battling wild outbreaks, something feels off. Rooms branch away, sealed tight, their doors unyielding to every poke flute melody or strength-boosted shove. Deeper in, past the control panels where engineers once monitored the grid, you find the heart of the mystery. Elevators that descend into voids, stairwells blocked by impassable barriers, and then spilling out into the arid expanse of the desert beyond Terminus Cave, those inaccessible doors. Steel slabs embedded in sandstone cliffs, rusted at the edges from 11 years of relentless sun and sandstorms, they've remained shut since the games launched in 2013. No key, no HM, no legendary intervention pries them open. Players have mapped every glitch, every trade evolution trick, yet these portals stay locked, guarding chambers that tease blueprints on walls, half-finished labs, conduits snaking into the earth, humming with residual energy that defies the region's grid. What lies behind them? Band dissections of the code reveal sprawling interiors, vast generator halls, control rooms lined with monitors depicting Zygarde's serpentine form coiled in digital stasis, and chambers pulsing with green core orbs, the same fragmented essence that defines the ecosystem guardian. Zygarde, the silent sentinel of Kalos's balance, whose 10% form slithers through Geosenger's ravine, watching humanity's encroachments with unblinking eyes. This power plant wasn't just fueling Lumios's glittering spires, it tapped into something primal, a network perhaps meant to harness Zygarde's cells, stabilizing the land after the war's devastation scarred the biosphere. Petrified armies turned to stone, ecosystems shattered. Could these doors hide the machinery to rebuild, or the hubris that nearly ended it all? Speculation swirls like desert winds. Early data miners in 2013 unearthed textures for unfinished Zygarde encounters here, battles scripted in the files but never triggered. Whispers of scrapped DLC echo through forums, plans for post-game expansions where you'd breach these seals, allying with Zygarde against a modern threat, a corporate overreach mirroring Aze's folly, or an invasion from the weapon's true target. Game Freak teased it in trailers, Zygarde's perfect form towering over dunes. But the doors stayed shut, the content culled. Why? Perhaps the 3DS hardware strained under the scope, or narrative threads tangled too tightly with the ultimate weapon's fallout. Or deeper still, a deliberate enigma planted to mirror Zygarde's own fragmented state. Whole truths broken into cells, waiting for players to piece together across generations. For over a decade, Game Freak has left these environmental puzzles unresolved, doors mocking every completionist from North America to Japan. No remake touches them, no Legends spin-off cracks the code. It's as if the developers embedded a living riddle, one that evolves with each new game, hinting at Kalos's fragility. Sand shifts outside those barriers, burying clues under dunes, while inside, the plant's generators drone on, powering a city oblivious to the Guardian stirring below. The Ghost Girl's elevator haunt in Lumiose ties back here too, her glide through Prism Tower post-plant visit, that chilling "you're not the one," as if she's seeking entry herself, barred from the secrets that could free her echo. You linger at those desert thresholds, heat mirages dancing on metal, the wind carrying faint Zygarde roars from terminus depths. What experiment failed behind them? A Zygarde fusion gone wrong, birthing rogue cells that still patrol the wastes? Or blueprints for weapons anew, echoing Aze's laser across time? The unresolved hum pulls at you, a thread in Kalos's darkening tapestry, demanding answers that 12 years later remain just out of reach. And as these sealed doors beckon from the sands, their shadows stretch toward distant isles where war's echoes resurface in fossil graves and crimson skies. Stay with us for Chapter 12, the Galar-Kalos Connection, where we uncover how that ancient blast might have shattered more than one region forever. Those sealed doors in the Kalos Desert guard more than just Zygarde's watchful gaze. They hint at a surge of energy that pulsed across oceans, 3,000 years ago, slamming into a distant land where the earth itself began to crack and scream. Galar, with its rolling hills and stadium-packed cities, carries the scars of that very same calamity, a shadow cast straight from the heart of King Azed's ultimate weapon. Picture the timeline unfolding like a chain reaction. In Kalos, the war raged fierce and unending, armies of humans and Pokémon clashing until the king unleashed his machine of despair from the towering spire in Lumiose City. That beam didn't just petrify the battlefield around him, it lanced outward, a wave of life-draining force that sought out the thickest concentrations of conflict. Scholars and fans have pored over the lore for years, mapping the distances, the ancient migration patterns of Pokémon herds. The evidence mounts that Galar was ground zero for the fallout, its skies darkening not from some random cataclysm, but from the direct backlash of that Kalosian weapon. The petrification energy warped the land, fusing bones and spirits in ways that defy natural decay. Deep beneath Galar's wild area, miners and diggers unearthed mass fossil graves that stretch for miles, pits overflowing with the jumbled remains of ancient Pokémon locked in eternal combat poses. These aren't scattered bones from a quiet extinction, they're battlefields frozen in time. Thousands of skeletons piled high, some still clutching weapons forged by long-gone hands. But the true horror lies in the fusions. Fossil Pokémon like Dracozolt, with its mismatched bird wings on a hulking lizard body, or Arctozolt, a shambling penguin torso grafted to serpentine legs. These aren't evolutions gone wrong. They're the unnatural handiwork of that weapon's energy, stitching disparate species together in a grotesque bid for survival amid the chaos. Imagine the ground trembling as the beam hit, bodies dissolving into energy, only to reform as these abominations. Hybrids that lumbered through the poisoned air, their cries echoing across a dying world. This wasn't mere coincidence. The darkest day, as Galar's legends call it, erupted centuries after the Kalos War's end, but the lore whispers of lingering radiation, a toxic glow seeping from the soil that awakened Eternatus from the void. Eternatus, that colossal dragon of pure Dynamax energy, isn't native to our world. It's a cosmic entity, drawn across the stars by the scent of war, the metallic tang of blood, the acrid smoke of petrified flesh, the raw pulse of desperation that the weapon amplified into a beacon. When it crashed into Galar, meteors trailing in its wake, it fed on those fossil graves, twisting the fused remains into the endless hordes that nearly swallowed the region whole. Rose and his macrocosmos crew mistook it for salvation, but it was the echo of ancient folly, pulled inexorably to a planet, still reeking of that 3,000-year-old slaughter. Layer by layer, the connections tighten. The petrified floette that haunted King AZ for centuries mirrors the Dynamax crystals riddling Galar's mines, both born from life force stripped bare. Rose's speeches about energy shortages. They stem from soil still barren, unable to sustain life after the weapon's drain. Even Chairman Leon's heroic stand against the endless night feels like a faint reprisal of AZ's own redemption arc, battling the monsters his predecessors unleashed. And those fossil Pokémon revived in labs with narier thought to their origins, they shuffle through stadiums today, oblivious to the war that birthed their broken forms. Yet questions linger in the fog-shrouded crags of the Crown Tundra. Why did the weapons reach spare some regions but devastate Galar so utterly? Were there Kalosian scouts or refugees who carried the curse across the sea, seeding the fossil pits? The darkest day's red skies, blotting out the sun for days on end, paint a picture too vivid to ignore, a direct scar from Lumios's laser, igniting a slumbering apocalypse. As we trace these threads further, the weapon's shadow falls on yet another scarred landscape, one riddled with craters that scream of similar devastation. In Chapter 13, the Great Crater of Paldea, we'll uncover if that massive pit was the true bullseye of AZ's fury, or something even more primordial waiting to erupt. But what if Galar's fossil graveyards and twisted fusions were merely the echoes, the scattered fallout from a strike that landed far closer to home, right in the heart of Paldea itself? That colossal scar on the land, the Great Crater of Paldea, stares up from the region's southwest like a wound that never healed, its jagged edges plunging thousands of feet into crystalline oblivion. First mapped in the early explorations of the 1800s, it defied every expedition sent to probe its depths, swallowing teams whole with sudden cave-ins and eerie silences that muffled even the boldest cries. By the time Scarlet and Violet released players into its forbidden core in 2022, the crater had become legend, a place where the Earth's secrets bubbled up in glowing veins of terra crystal, pulsing with an otherworldly light that shifted colors like a trapped aurora. Deep within this abyss lies Area Zero, the sealed heart of the mystery, a labyrinth of shimmering caverns where gravity bends and shadows whisper forgotten names. Scientists from Paldea's top academies descended there decades ago, chasing rumors of prehistoric life, only to vanish without trace, their logs hinting at visions of creatures from eras long buried. The air grows thick with static, your breath fogging against walls that hum like living quartz, and every step echoes as if through warped glass. It's here, in these depths, that the theory takes root, unproven yet tantalizing. Area Zero as the potential ground zero for the ancient ultimate weapon. Picture the beam from King Azid's tower in Kalos, 3,000 years prior, not arcing toward Galar's plains, but lancing straight into Paldea's crust, vaporizing civilizations and fracturing reality itself. The petrified soldiers of Kalos match the crater's frozen timelines too perfectly, don't they? With paradox Pokémon clawing out from rifts, futuristic roaring moons and ancient slitherwings pulled from futures and pasts that shouldn't collide. Those distortions of time and space within the crater's crystalline depths explain it all. A perpetual storm where seconds stretch into hours and echoes carry voices from centuries away. Terra crystals line every fissure, their facets refracting light into impossible geometries, birthing terrestrial phenomena that let Pokémon shift types mid-battle, as if borrowing power from shattered dimensions. Expeditions recovered fragments of journals from the lost researchers, pages warped by temporal bleed. One entry dated itself to the year 2500, another scrawled in a script predating human fire. The crystals don't just glow, they remember. Touch one, and flashes assault you. Glimpses of a thriving empire at the crater's rim. Spires of obsidian and gold piercing the clouds. Markets alive with traders bartering Pokémon eggs hatched from crystal nests. Then, nothing. A hush falls and the visions twist into screams. That empire, vast and unyielding, crumbled overnight after unearthing the first Terra crystals from the crater's upper ledges. Records etched into canyon walls speak of it in hushed fragments. The Paldean realm, rulers of the known world around 3,000 years ago, pierced the earth seeking endless power. Miners hauled up the first shards, radiant orbs that amplified Pokémon moves beyond mortal limits, turning wild herds into invincible legions. Victory after victory followed, borders expanding until the horizon bowed. But greed cracked the seal. As they delved deeper, harvesting clusters the size of boulders, the crystals responded first with boons, then backlash. Quakes split the palace foundations, skies tore open with paradox swarms, time itself unraveled, aging kings to dust in days, while children grew beards overnight. The final logs, carved hastily into a monolith now half buried, blame a great unraveling, a cataclysm that swallowed the capital whole, leaving only wind-scoured ruins and the crater's mocking glow. Was it the crystal's curse, or the prelude to Azid's weapon igniting the core below, turning prosperity to paradox? Fan theories swirl around this like mist in the depths, piecing together Scarlet and Violet's lore with Kalos flashbacks. The ultimate weapon's life-draining pulse would have supercharged the crystals, fusing them with temporal energy, explaining why terrestrial blooms only thrive here. No other region bears such scars, no Galar without its Eternatus haze, no Kalos without its ghost-haunted towers. Paldea's silence feels deliberate. The game's Professor Sada and Turo obsessed with recreating those distortions through AI simulations, their labs echoing the Lost Empire's hubris. Walk the crater's research station today, past consoles flickering with glitchy holograms of Az's Floette, and you feel it. The weapon's shadow lingers, not as ruin, but as a live wire humming beneath your feet. Yet for all the crater's pull, pulling threads from past and future into a tangled now, it hints at even wilder unravelings elsewhere, anomalies that stranded souls across time without mercy or map. Those echoes grow louder when we turn to Stranded in Hisui, where a frontier's promise dissolved into eternal isolation. Those crystalline depths of Area Zero twist time itself, pulling echoes from eras long buried, much like the rifts that scarred Hisui centuries ago. In the ancient land that would one day become Sinnoh, space-time distortions didn't just warp the landscape, they tore people from their worlds and left them adrift forever. Pokémon Legends, Arceus unveils this cruelty in the year 2022, thrusting you, the hero from the modern era, into Hisui around 1850, a time of feudal clans, noble houses, and Pokémon roaming wild without Pokeballs or badges. You're no ordinary traveler. Arceus, the creator god, yanks you through a shimmering rift during a simple visit to Mount Coronet, depositing you amid blizzards and stampeding herds. The Galaxy team rescues you, half frozen, and you rise through their ranks, cataloguing beasts for Professor Lavender, forging bonds with rowdy alpha Pokémon that shake the earth with their roars. But as you climb Jubilife Village's wooden scaffolds, taming Hisuian forms like the spectral Zorua or the venomous Quillfish, a shadow lingers. Volo, the enigmatic merchant with eyes like fractured obsidian, guides you toward ancient plates and temple ruins, whispering of creation's sins. He seeks to remake the world, summoning Dialga and Palkia in a frenzy at the Temple of Sinnoh, only for betrayal to erupt. You thwart him, delving into the distorted realms where time frays like old silk, facing Giratina's wrath in the reverse world. Yet victory tastes of ash. The tragic fate of the protagonists in Pokémon Legends, Arceus unfolds not in battle's chaos, but in the quiet aftermath. You stand before Arceus itself, its wheel of plates glowing under starry skies, promising purpose fulfilled. But those you fought beside Rei or Akari, your steadfast rival, fade into Hisui's history. They vanish from records, their names etched only in vague clan tales, as if swallowed by the land. Adaman and Irida, leaders of Diamond and Pearl clans, carry on fractured alliances, but the Survey Corps disperses, its members scattering like leaves in Obsidian Fieldland's winds. No monuments mark their sacrifices, no legends sing their names. They're ghosts in the timeline, their lives bent around your intrusion, forever altered without resolution. And you? The realization hits like a blizzard's howl. There is no return to the future for the displaced hero. Post-game whispers tempt with a portal home, a fleeting glimpse through Arceus's grace, but canon leaves it hollow. Updates and epilogues in 2023's Daybreak expansion tease modern Sinnoh sightings, yet Hisui claims you. Fan dissections of code and developer interviews from Game Freak hint at abandonment. The hero's modern ties severed, family forgotten, Pokémon left in distant lab stasis. You awaken in Jubilife sometimes, or spot your cap in contemporary ruins, but the rifts seal shut. Arceus offers no ferry back. It used you as a pawn in its divine game, mending distortions only to strand the pieces. Worse still is Ingo's memory loss, a wound that festers in those same rifts. The subway boss from Unova's Nimbasa City, known from Black and White in 2010, materializes in the Moonview Arena, clad in his crisp uniform amid Hisuian blizzards. He spars with you, his voice steady but hollow, commanding Chandelure and other steel ghosts with mechanical precision. Yet he stares blankly at the stars, convinced he's always been here, a native of this primal era. No recollection of Ilessa, his sister, or the thundering battle subway. Distortions ripped him from 250 years ahead, erasing decades in an instant. You battle Electros variants and Hatterene swarms to reach him, piecing together his fractured dialogue, but restoration eludes. He remains a timeless sentinel, training Pearl Clan warriors, his Unova life a void. This is the cruelty of Arceus, as a divine manipulator, pulling strings across centuries without mercy. The alpha Pokémon, warped guardians pulsing with unnatural energy, roam as enforcers of its will. Space-time rifts bloom like wounds after red sky storms, spewing noble Pokémon enraged by celestial interference. Arceus summons you to catalogue its creations, to quell Volo's rebellion born of abandonment. Volo, descendant of the ancient Sinnoh hero who communed with it first, now twisted by godly neglect. Dialga's plates crack under the strain, Palkia's oceans boil, and Giratina hungers from the distortion world. You mend what the god breaks, only for it to shatter again, indifferent to human frailty. Hisui's vastness amplifies the isolation. Traverse the verdant obsidian fieldlands, where Weirdeer leaps through golden grasses, or scale crimson Mireland's steaming bogs stalked by Overquill's barbs. Ancient Ipom Hill overlooks it all, a cradle of first human Pokémon pacts, now haunted by your displacement. Kamado, Galaxy's irascible leader, eyes you with suspicion, his daughter Ray vanishing into clan wars, you indirectly fuel. Irida's ritual drums echo unanswered in ice caves, Adaman's bravado masking the era's brutal survival. Pokémon here fight raw, no captures, just tosses of handmade balls that crumble on failure, echoing the primal fear of beasts unbound. Theorists pore over legends, Arceus files, noting unused assets of modern portals flickering out, dialogue trees where NPCs mourn lost comrades. Crossovers in Scarlet and Violet's 2022 epilogue nod to Hisui survivors in Paldea's Paradox Wilds, time-lost echoes fusing past and future. But Ingo wanders alone, his battles a ritual of forgotten home. The hero's journal entries, scrawled in Laventon's lab by lantern light, trail off into uncertainty, no triumphant return, just endless surveys under auroras. Arceus watches from the Hall of Origin, its former silhouette of judgment, having orchestrated every rift for its inscrutable balance. You tamed legends, yet it discards you like a spent plate. Hisui endures, its people none the wiser, while you etch your legacy in fading ink. Those distortions beg questions about what's captured inside the everyday tools we take for granted, the hidden voids of a Poké Ball that might hold darker secrets than any rift. Coming up in Chapter 15, the anatomy of a Poké Ball unravels what truly happens when a Pokémon vanishes into that crimson shell, whispers of pocket dimensions or something far more sinister waiting in the dark. Those ancient surveyors from the future, forever trapped in Hisui's untamed wilds, relied on crude aprons and feathers to befriend their Pokémon companions. No Poké Balls in sight, just raw trust forged in survival. But fast forward to your world, trainer, and every capture hinges on that unassuming red and white sphere, shrinking down living, breathing creatures into digital oblivion with a flash of light. What unholy alchemy allows a Pikachu's spark or a Charizard's roar to vanish inside a device no bigger than your fist? Consider the mechanics we've glimpsed across the games. When you hurl a Poké Ball, it doesn't merely contain, it converts. Pokémon dematerialize in a burst of energy, their mass compressed into data streams, stored within the ball's core circuitry. Official lore from the Pokédex entries whispers of pocket dimensions or transdimensional storage, but peel back the layers and the truth grows far more sinister. These aren't benevolent transporters, they're prisons engineered for convenience, holding sentient biological life in a state of digital limbo. Imagine your loyal partner, mid-battle fury or lazy nap, suddenly reduced to code, atoms unraveled, consciousness uploaded into silicon silence. The terrifying implications of this digital storage for sentient biological life stretch into ethical nightmares. Are they aware during those hours, days, or years inside? Do they dream in binary or scream in the void? Pokémon feel pain, form bonds, exhibit emotions as vivid as any humans. Gengar haunts with malice, Jigglypuff sings with longing, yet we stuff them into balls without a second thought. In the anime, we've seen flashes, Pokémon withdrawn mid-leap, re-emerging dazed but intact. But what if the process isn't painless? Mewtwo's origin in the first movie rages against human experimentation, cloning life into servitude. Poké Balls feel like an extension of that hubris, digitizing the wild into obedience. Theories from fans who've pored over code in the games suggest the ball's interior isn't empty space, but a simulated stasis field, halting biological functions to prevent decay. Heartbeat stops, breath halts, time freezes. Your Pokémon exists as pure information, waiting for recall. Comforting, until you realize this mirrors cryogenic suspension gone digital, with no consent from the captive. Or is the interior a luxury suite, as some rosy marketing from Sylph Co. might imply? Plush cushions, holographic views of starry skies, gourmet Poké Puffs on demand? Hardly. Dive into the source material, and the illusion shatters. Early Pokédex scans in red and blue describe the ball opening to release energy that reforms the Pokémon, hinting at disassembly and reassembly, particle by particle. In gold and silver, Kurt crafts balls from apricorns, organic shells masking tech that warps reality itself. But luxury, that's a trainer's fantasy. Reality beckons from the shadows of development history. Leaked concept art from 1996, when Game Freak first sketched the Poké Ball's guts. Those yellowed blueprints, unearthed from Satoshi Tajiri's archives, and shared in art books like The Electric Tale of Pikachu, reveal a much more mechanical, cramped reality. No cozy habitats here, just a labyrinth of gears, pistons, and pressurized tubes snaking through the ball's hollow shell. Pokémon rendered as miniaturized figures crammed into cylindrical chambers, limbs folded unnaturally tight, eyes wide in mechanical restraints. Vents hiss with coolant gases, conveyor belts shuttle them into storage slots like factory fodder. One sketch shows a Bulbasaur squeezed into a vice-like pod, vines coiled defensively, while another depicts wiring interfacing directly with flesh, electrodes pulsing to maintain stasis. This wasn't whimsical, it echoed 1990s tech anxieties, computers devouring the organic world. Game Freak softened it for release, trading cyberpunk horror for pixel charm, but those originals linger like a glitch in the canon. Why hide this? Perhaps to spare young trainers the horror. In the games, balls stack in your bag, 6, 30, hundreds, each a digital crypt. Battles drag on. Your team rotates in and out, unaware of the endless cycling. Black and white balls for the fainted great balls for the stubborn upgrades in capture rate, but identical torment inside. Cross-region lore amplifies the dread. In Kalos, Azid's Floette endured 3,000 years of undeath. But what of Pokémon boxed away since Gen 1's launch? Forgotten in PC storage, their data degrades over server updates, or worse, they persist eternally aware, ghosts in the machine-haunting Bulbapedia forums. Hisui's primitive methods feel merciful by comparison, no compression, no void. Modern balls promise control, but at what cost to the soul? Sentience digitized risks erasure. A power surge, a factory reset, and poof, your partner unravels forever. Mewtwo rebelled for less. Even legendaries submit. Dialga bends time yet cowers in a master ball, its godly essence squeezed into circuits. The Pokédex claims Pokémon do not mind, but that's propaganda. Observe a newly caught Rattata thrashing on the grass post-release, disoriented, trembling, echoes of the cramped gears it escaped. This digital cage underpins every region's darkest secrets, from Kanto's war veterans deploying armies of boxed beasts to Galar's fossil revivals questioning what alive means post-storage. Your starter, that wide-eyed Charmander handed at Professor Oak's lab, now awaits recall in stasis, its flame dimmed to embers in code. Luxury suite or suspended animation. The concept art screams the latter, a mechanical nightmare sanitized for shelves. Trainers sleep soundly, but do their Pokémon. And as we emerge from the Poké Ball's cold core, another enigma burrows beneath the surface, one that's evaded scrutiny for decades. Coming up in Chapter 16, the mystery of Diglett's feet. What those hidden digits conceal could upend everything you know about the ground dwellers lurking just out of sight. If the Poké Ball traps Pokémon in some digital stasis, frozen between life and nothingness, then Diglett embodies a creature already half buried in eternal mystery, its body vanishing into the soil the moment it appears. You know the one, that brown, whisker-twitching head poking from the ground, always just the top half on display, as if the earth itself claims the rest and refuses to let go. From its debut in the original games back in 1996, Diglett has never fully emerged, and that's no accident. Look back through the pixelated archives and you'll see it plain as day. In red and blue, the sprite hovers above a patch of dirt, bottom cleanly cropped away. Generation 2's gold and silver. Same trick, the base obscured by shadows or terrain. Ruby and sapphire refine the art, but still, no lower body in sight. Even in diamond and pearl, or the vibrant worlds of black and white, artists at Game Freak meticulously hid whatever lies beneath. Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes doubled down, positioning Diglett mid-pop from tunnels that conveniently swallow its form. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Sword and Shield, every iteration across 30 years of titles commits to this deliberate blackout. Why go to such lengths, frame after frame, console after console? It's as if the developers knew revealing the truth would upend everything we assume about this Pokémon's existence, forcing us to question not just its anatomy, but its very place in the Pokémon world. Fast forward to 2017, and the tension peaks in a moment that sent ripples through the community. During trailers for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and later confirmed in those games' animations, Diglett finally gives us a glimpse of its power. You watch it burrow underground, and the earth starts to tremble, literally shaking the ground in seismic waves that mimic earthquakes. The screen quakes, dirt flies, and Diglett's head bobs furiously, propelling its hidden body through soil like a living drill. Fans paused those clips 1,000 times, frame by frame, hunting for any slip-up, any accidental reveal of legs or tail, or whatever powers that subterranean assault. But nothing. The shaking intensifies, the planet groans under invisible force, yet the bottom stays cloaked in darkness and dust. Game Freak teased us with the rumble, the raw might of Diglett's underground locomotion, but pulled back just short of truth. Why? Theories swirl that full exposure would spoil a lore bomb. Perhaps Diglett isn't built for surface life at all, its design a deliberate enigma tying into ancient Earth guardians or fossilized burrowing ancestors. Or maybe it's simpler and scarier. The reveal was scrapped because what's down there defies biology as we know it in the Pokémon universe. Peel back the dirt, and the biological puzzle sharpens into something profoundly unsettling. Diglett thrives in caves and tunnels, popping up only to snatch prey or scout, then vanishing without a trace. Its body, adapted for endless submersion, suggests a form optimized for perpetual burial, smooth, elongated, perhaps segmented like an earthworm on steroids, with no need for limbs that would snag on roots or rocks. Evolve it into Dugtrio, and 3 heads share one massive underground mass, drilling through bedrock in unison. But if it never fully surfaces, why evolve surface-facing features at all? Those whiskers sense vibrations from miles away, eyes peer just above soil line, perfect for a predator that strikes from below. Yet, evolution demands efficiency. A subterranean existence implies propulsion without feet, maybe undulating muscles rippling through a tail-like lower half, or microscopic hooks gripping earth particles. Fan dissections of model files hint at hidden appendages, 3 stubby legs per Diglett, or a coiled base that fans out underground like roots. But official art and models clip it away, leaving voids where shadows pool. Imagine the pressure down there, constant crush of soil molding flesh that's tougher than steel, respiring through pores that filter minerals directly into blood. No lungs heaving fresh air, no legs pounding paths above ground, just eternal immersion, a body that's more mole than mammal, more myth than monster. This isn't clumsiness in design, it's necessity. Diglett's half-life mirrors real-world burrowers like the golden mole, blind and limbless, but amplified to Pokémon scale, hinting at genes from Mew's ancient pool, twisted for depths no other creature dares. The implications stretch further when you factor in habitats. Diglett infestations turn roots into minefields, ground rumbling underfoot as clusters tunnel en masse. In the anime, episodes from the original series show them reshaping landscapes overnight, hills flattened, valleys carved, all without a single footfall witnessed. Sun and Moon's Alolan variant, golden furred, and even more elusive, burrows through volcanic ash, its shakes triggering minor eruptions. Yet trainers capture them, stuff them into Poké Balls, and somehow they emerge unscathed, ready to dive again. Does the digital compression preserve that buried form, or force a reconfiguration? And Dugtrio's triple menace, do those heads share a single hidden engine, pulsing as one to pulverize stone? Official Pokédex entries call it the Mole Pokémon, but moles have feet. Diglett defies the label, its absence screaming adaptation to a world below ours. Even cross-region sightings fuel the fire. Kanto's Diglett tunnel pulses with their activity, walls scarred by unseen passage. In Hoenn's fiery path, they compete with Numel for subsurface dominance, tremors clashing in muffled wars. Galar's dusty bowl hides fossil echoes, suggesting Diglett lineage traces to prehistoric diggers petrified in Kalos War fallout. But no game, no manga, no spin-off ever lifts the veil. Game Freak guards this secret like AZ's weapon schematics, dropping hints in model glitches or Ultra Beast's worm-like kin, but never the full picture. As these underground anomalies burrow deeper into unanswered questions, they unearth even stranger reproductive riddles that have puzzled breeders since Gold and Silver. Join me next for Chapter 17, The Breeding Enigma, where we descend into the impossible origins of Pokémon eggs and why no one can explain how life hatches from thin air. While the truth about Diglett's feet remains buried just out of sight, shaking the earth without ever fully revealing itself, another foundational secret of Pokémon life stays even more concealed. In over 25 years of games, anime episodes, and every breeding center from Kanto to Paldea, no trainer in the Pokémon world has ever actually seen a Pokémon lay an egg. You drop off your loyal companions at the daycare, maybe a Venusaur and a Blissey, hoping for that rare offspring with perfect IVs. Days pass, you return, and there it is, nestled in the old man's hands, a pristine white egg, warm to the touch, ready to hatch into the next generation. He never explains where it came from. No nest in the back, no labored cries from a mother in the fields, no shell cracking open before your eyes. Just the egg, every time. Across regions, from the Route 11 daycare in Kanto to the picnic breeding spots in Scarlet and Violet, the process stays shrouded. Trainers talk about compatibility, levels, friendship mechanics in the games, but in universe, silence. The Pokémon League regulates battles and gyms with ironclad rules, yet breeding operates in this foggy void, as if the act of creation demands absolute privacy. Think about the implications. Pokémon evolve in front of us, battle in stadiums packed with crowds, migrate across continents in plain view. We watch Pidgey fledge from nests in Viridian Forest, see Magikarp flop desperately in streams before sparking into Gyarados fury. Birth, though, vanished from the record. Not a single NPC recounts the moment. No Pokédex entry details the labor. No anime filler episode shows a Chansey waddling off to deliver. Even in the wild, where herds of Tauros roam and Doduo pairs strut, you'd expect a glimpse. Safari zones teem with life cycles on display, yet eggs materialize without witnesses. Is this mere coincidence, or does something deliberate keep eyes away from the nests? Enter the daycare man, that enigmatic figure standing eternal vigil outside every route's fence. In Gold and Silver, he's the old couple on Route 34, trading vague pleasantries about getting along nicely. By Platinum, he's upgraded to automated compatibility checks, but still, no reveal. You hand over your monsters, pay the fee, and he smiles knowingly. They really love each other, he says, or it takes some time. But when you come back, that egg appears from nowhere. Does he magic it into existence? Sneak it from a hidden incubator? Or is he part of something larger, a network spanning the globe? Every region has its variant. The Route 5 caretaker in Fire Red, the Battle Resort breeder in Omega Ruby. They all share that same inscrutable grin, that refusal to elaborate. Fans have pored over code dives since Generation 2's breeding debut in 1999, uncovering Ditto's universal compatibility as a genetic wildcard, Masuda method odds for shiny hunts. But lore-wise, these men guard the gate to life itself. Ignorance from simple folks too embarrassed to discuss Pokémon intimacy. Or a global conspiracy sanctioned by the League to control population, prevent overbreeding disasters like the Cantonian War's Pokémon hordes? the cracks deepen when you probe the biology. Not every Pokémon fits the egg mold. Mammalian lines like the Eevee evolutions, or the furry herds of Johto's Miltank and Tauros, do they truly overposit? The Pokédex insists on eggs for all, from Ditto's mimicry to legendaries like Latias in competitive breeding glitches, yet real-world parallels shatter this. Birds lay eggs, reptiles too, but what of the mammalian Rhyperia lineage, or the serpentine onyx coiling through caves? Generation 2 introduced breeding to explain wild populations, tying back to Mew's ancestral DNA pool unearthed in Guyana. But uniform egg-laying across thousands of species defies evolution. Imagine the mechanics, every Ditto transforming its goo into a compatible womb, every Steelix somehow extruding a shell from rocky hide. Fossil records in Galar's mass graves show pre-war Pokémon without egg traces, hinting at live births overwritten by some catastrophe or experiment. This impossibility echoes Mewtwo's creation in the labs of Cinnabar, where human meddling birthed clones from genetic soup. What if breeding centers aren't farms but subtle labs? The daycare man's egg always hatches true to type, inheriting moves from absent parents, stats optimized beyond nature. In the anime, eggs appear in wild nests occasionally, like the Togepi Ash received, but never the laying itself. Scrapped arcs like Johto's Celebi ties might have touched it, but canon dodges. Paldea's Terra-style phenomenon warps crystals from energy blasts, yet eggs emerge pristine, untouched by paradox outbreaks. Biological strain would collapse ecosystems, exhaustion from constant laying, predation on vulnerable clutches. Unless the eggs aren't laid at all. Programmed manifestation. Dimensional pull from the distortion world where Giratina twists realities. Whispers in Unova's Pokémon musical backstories hint at breeders vanishing after egg mishaps, eggs hatching malformed before deletion from records. The International Pokémon Association, overseeing tournaments worldwide, mandates daycare standards but audits none public. Conspiracy threads on fan sites since 2000 stretch to Professor Oak's aides, who collect data without questioning sources. If ignorance, why the uniformity? Every day, Care echoes the same script. From Heartgold's radio broadcasts to Legends Arceus's subdued Hisuian pairs. A veil protects something primal, perhaps tied to Arceus's creation myth, where eggs symbolize untouched divinity. As these shadows of reproduction linger, pulling you deeper into the unseen cycles of Pokémon life, prepare yourself for Chapter 18, the Rogue Malamar plot. What drove that hypnotic cephalopod and its cabal to scheme world domination from the depths? And why did they vanish without a trace? While the daycare men across the regions shrug off the egg-laying riddle with vague smiles and conspiracy-tinged excuses, the Pokémon anime dared to peel back a much uglier layer of reality, one that shatters the illusion of Pokémon as eternally loyal companions. In the shadows of the Kalos region, during the XY series that premiered in 2013, a rogue Malamar emerged, not as some trainer's misguided pet, but as a self-appointed overlord with a god complex and no master pulling its tentacles. This wasn't your typical villainous scheme, cooked up by a bumbling Team Rocket trio. Malamar, that sleek ink-black squid Pokémon with eyes that pierce like daggers, gathered a cult-like army of its own kind. They slithered through abandoned warehouses and fog-shrouded coasts, their tentacles pulsing with hypnotic ink that bent human minds to their will. Picture the salty tang of ocean air mixing with the metallic reek of fear as trainers and civilians alike fell under their sway, their eyes glazing over into vacant obedience. These Malamar didn't crave battles or badges. They hungered for dominion, envisioning a world where humans knelt before them as slaves, rebuilding society under squid rule. What set this arc apart was its chilling insistence that evil could brew deep within Pokémon nature itself, untethered from any human influence. No rocket grunt handlers barking orders. No devious professors supplying tech. just pure primal ambition radiating from Malamar's core. The leader, a towering specimen scarred from battles past, communed through psychic visions, preaching a doctrine of superiority. It saw humanity as frail insects, unworthy of the power Pokémon held, and sought to invert the master-pet dynamic forever. Trainers like Ash and his friends stumbled into this nightmare during a string of episodes that unfolded like a slow-building horror tale, from the initial hypnosis of a cruise ship captain to the infiltration of a power plant, where Malamar's forces plotted their global takeover. The depth of this darkness hit hardest in the quiet moments, when the screen lingered on enthralled humans marching in lockstep, their faces stripped of will, echoing the very hypnosis Malamar wielded so masterfully. This plotline marked the darkest departure from the Pokémon as friends trope, because it forced viewers to confront the possibility that some Pokémon harbor instincts too feral, too megalomaniacal for friendship to tame. In a franchise built on bonds of trust, Pikachu's cheeky sparks, Charizard's reluctant respect, here was a creature declaring war on coexistence, its god complex blooming from evolutionary solitude rather than abuse or experiment. Fans whispered in forums late into the night, debating if Malamar's rage stemmed from ancient grudges or a glitch in their species' DNA, a predator's mind trapped in a world of leashes and Poké Balls. As the arc crescendoed toward its fever pitch, the heroes unraveled the plot thread by thread. Clement's gadgets pierced the hypnotic haze. Serena's keen instincts uncovered hidden layers, and Ash's unbreakable spirit rallied allies against the squid horde. Explosions rocked coastal hideouts, ink clouds billowed like midnight fog, and psychic blasts cracked the air with otherworldly thunder. Yet victory came at a cost. The lead Malamar's eyes burned with unquenched fury, its final command rippling through its followers like a death knell. And then, the unresolved cliffhanger that still haunts the lore, as the battle raged in a crumbling facility laced with time-warping energy. The surviving Malamar group activated a shimmering portal, their tentacles coiling in unison. With a final venomous glare at the human world they'd nearly conquered, they vanished into the future, slipping through a rift that sealed behind them without explanation. No triumphant resolution, no capture or redemption, just echoes of their psychic laughter fading into the void, leaving Ash and crew staring at empty space, questions piling like driftwood on the shore. Where did they flee to in that temporal escape? A dystopian tomorrow where their domination finally takes root, or some distant era primed for revenge? The anime never circled back, even as the XY series stretched into 2016. Directors and writers moved on, but that portal's glow lingers in fan theories, tying rogue Malamar to broader enigmas like Kalas's ancient wars or Zygarde's watchful gaze. It's a thread dangling over the franchise's cheerful veneer, reminding us that not every Pokémon seeks a trainer's hand, some crave the throne. This rift into the unknown primes us perfectly for the fragmented legend waiting in Chapter 19, the original dragon, where a primordial force shattered across time itself beckons with secrets even more elusive. As those Malamar slithered away into an uncertain future, their godlike ambitions echoing unanswered, our gaze shifts across the seas to Unova, where the Pokémon world's oldest draconic fracture runs deeper than any anime cliffhanger. The original dragon once soared over that land, a singular entity of unimaginable power, its form embodying the raw essence of creation before heroes tore it asunder. Picture the ancient plains of Unova, stretching endlessly under storm-lashed skies, where two brothers rose as champions of their era. One pursued truth with unyielding fire, the other chased ideals through crackling thunder. Their ideals clashed in a cataclysmic war that shook the continent, and at its heart stood their loyal companion, the original dragon. This wasn't just any legendary beast. It was the complete being, ruler of Unova's primordial wilds, its body a harmonious fusion of light, shadow and void, pulsing with the life force that birthed legends. When the brothers' conflict peaked, the dragon could bear no more. In a moment of divine agony, it fragmented into three hollow shells: Reshiram, the blazing truth seeker; Zekrom, the storm-wreathed idealist, and Kyurem, the frozen, empty remnant, adrift and yearning. These weren't equal rebirths. Reshiram and Zekrom emerged as ideological warriors, their forms majestic yet incomplete, tails flickering like dying embers of the whole. Kyurem lingered as the husk, a glacial prison of what was lost, its hollow core whispering of reunion. Scattered across Unova's peaks and tundras, they became idols for the hopeful and the ruthless alike, but each one rang empty, mere echoes of the original dragon's glory. Legends etched into Unova's oldest ruins speak of reconstructing that myth, piecing together the complete being that once ruled with unchallenged dominion. In black and white, you glimpse the twins' tale through the champion Alder and the twisted ambitions of En and Getsis. But it's in black too and white too where the fragments stir. Kyurem, thawed from its icy tomb in the giant chasm, absorbs its siblings through the DNA splicers, a forbidden machine humming with ancient tech. Black Kyurem fuses shadow and frost into a behemoth of tyranny. White Kyurem blends light and chill into a beacon of reluctant harmony. For fleeting battles, you command these fusions, their roars shaking your screen, turbines whirring on backs that pulse with borrowed power. Yet even then, the true original dragon eludes you. Glimpsed only in murals faded by time, its silhouette a colossal dragon with wings of flame and lightning, body sheathed in crystalline ice. Why do the games refuse to show the original dragon in its true form? Developers at Game Freak have danced around it in interviews since Black and White's release in 2011, hinting at design limits, its scale too vast for sprites or models, its power too overwhelming for balance. But delve into the lore, and darker reasons emerge. The complete being predates human Pokémon bonds, a god king whose rule knew no masters. Revealing it fully might unravel Unova's fragile peace, awakening a force that fragmented once to prevent apocalypse. In the anime's Best Wishes series, from 2010 to 2013, Kyurem's eyes glow with feral hunger during Team Plasma's schemes, and fusions flicker in movies like Kyurem vs. The Sword of Justice. Even there, the original remains veiled, a shadow in prophecy scrolls that sages guard jealously. Fans have pored over data mines and beta assets for years, uncovering unused models of a serpentine behemoth with three heads in harmony, one of fire, one of electricity, one of ice, its underbelly glowing with the DNA helix that binds them. Theories swirl on forums. Was it Arceus's equal, splintered to humble humanity's hubris? Or a precursor to Zygarde, the Order Keeper from Kalos, fragmented for similar sins? Unova's lore ties back to real-world dualism, inspired by yin-yang and Taoism, where wholeness invites chaos. The games withhold it to preserve mystery, letting your imagination fill the void Kyurem embodies, cold, incomplete, forever seeking its lost halves. In the end, the original dragon's silence screams louder than any roar. Its fragments haunt Unova's lore like ghosts of a forgotten empire, urging us to question what other shattered gods lurk in the code. And as we chase these draconic echoes, prepare yourself for Chapter 20, the cancelled war, Team Rocket versus Plasma, a scrapped anime rivalry that promised to ignite the ultimate team clash, its buried secrets still smouldering beneath the surface. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. From the shattered remnants of that complete being, the truths of Unova's ancient divide lingered like echoes in the wind-swept ruins of Dragon Spiral Tower. But as the Black and White anime unfolded in 2010, those mythic fractures found a modern mirror in the rise of Team Plasma, a group preaching liberation for Pokémon, their white cloaks billowing across the region like storm clouds gathering over Nimbasa City. You could feel the tension building from the start. Ash and his friends arrived in Unova, Pikachu crackling with unfamiliar energy, only to clash with these ideologues who demanded trainers release their partners into the wild. En, the enigmatic green-haired prince with his hypnotic eyes and voice, like a siren's call, embodied their twisted philosophy. He spoke of Pokémon suffering under human bonds, his Zoroark shifting shadows to reveal visions of chained beasts breaking free. Yet beneath the rhetoric, something sharper glinted, a willingness to force freedom at any cost, smashing Poké Balls in public spectacles that left crowds stunned and Pokémon bewildered. Early episodes painted Plasma as fanatics, but whispers from the production crew hinted at grander designs. Interviews years later revealed plans for a full-scale invasion, not just speeches and petty thefts. Team Plasma was scripted to unleash chaos on an unprecedented level, their forces sweeping through cities with mechanical dragons roaring from hidden bases, liberating Pokémon by the hundreds and turning them against their former trainers in brutal reversals. This was the original Team Plasma, meant to be much more violent than what aired, a ruthless army echoing real revolutionary fervor, complete with bombings of gyms and assassinations of key figures. Leaked storyboards showed Getsis, the shadowy kingpin, orchestrating mass Pokémon stampedes through Castelia City, his Hydreigon tearing through barriers while grunts in plasma-proof suits herded the freed beasts into frenzied hordes. Hoenn wasn't just a lost soul, he was to lead charges that pitted wild Pokémon against the world, his ideals weaponized into a holy war. Then came the rivalry that promised to redefine evil in Pokémon. Team Rocket, those bumbling yet persistent villains from Kanto, caught wind of Plasma's growing power. In the planned arc, Giovanni dispatched his elite forces, Jessie, James, and Meowth upgraded with Unova tech, backed by an armada of Zubats and Arboks to counter the threat. Picture it, Rocket's black balloons darkening the skies over Driftvale, clashing with Plasma's white dirigibles in aerial dogfights, Ekans coiling around Lippard as explosions lit the night. The cancelled war was set to erupt in a multi-episode saga, Rocket invading Plasma's castle on Route 4, lasers from Magnemite swarms meeting the fury of Conkeldurr hammers. Ash would be caught in the crossfire, allying uneasily with Iris and Sillun to broker peace amid the rubble. Fans speculated it would culminate in a showdown atop the Plasma frigate, where Enn's pure-hearted vision collided with Giovanni's empire-building greed, reshaping alliances across regions. But none of it aired. On March 11, 2011, the Tohoku earthquake struck Japan, a magnitude 9.0 cataclysm that unleashed a tsunami swallowing coastal towns, triggering the Fukushima meltdown and claiming over 18,000 lives. The nation reeled, broadcasts halted, studios shuttered. Pokémon's black and white anime, deep into production, lost 12 full episodes to the disaster, scripts shredded, animation cells destroyed in the chaos. This real-world tragedy altered the course of Pokémon's darkest storyline forever. Creators at OLM and the Pokémon Company, hearts heavy with national mourning, pivoted hard. The violent Plasma arc, with its themes of forced upheaval and mass destruction, felt too raw, mirroring the earthquake's devastation, the nuclear fears, the fractured families. What was meant to be a blood-soaked Team Rocket versus Plasma war softened into philosophical debates and quicker resolutions. Enn's redemption came early, Getsis fled without the full carnage, and Rocket's involvement dwindled to cameos, their promised invasion reduced to offhand threats. Director Kunihiko Yuyama later confirmed the cuts in interviews, admitting the tone shift preserved sensitivity amid grief. Voice actors like Mizuki Yamamoto, who played Iris, spoke of rewrites done in dimly lit temporary offices, salvaging what they could from flooded archives. The lost episodes, rumored to include Rocket's full Unova debut and Plasma's siege of Iciris City, vanished into sealed vaults, perhaps forever, as digital backups failed in the power surges. Even in the aired version, scars remain. That eerie moment when Plasma's forces scatter after the League, their ideals crushed but not erased. Or the abandoned frigate drifting off Route 18, a ghost ship whispering of battles unfought. Fans piece together clues from manga tie-ins and game data, where Plasma's shadow triad hints at deeper violence, but the anime's pivot left a void, a cancelled apocalypse hanging over Unova like mist on Undella Bay. Traces surfaced in later media. Black 2 and White 2 games amped up Plasma's remnants. But without the Rocket War, it felt incomplete. The Best Wishes series finale nods to greater conflicts ahead, yet 2013's transition to XY buried it. Theories persist. Was the earthquake a sign from Arceus, halting a storyline too prophetic? Or just cruel timing, robbing us of Pokémon's grittiest chapter? As the echoes of that unmade war fade into Unova's lore, shadows stir elsewhere, in forgotten estates where spectral whispers guard even darker secrets. Tune in next for Chapter 21, The Ghost of the Old Chateau, and uncover what truly haunts those vine-choked walls. But while real-world events could derail an anime arc, the games themselves hold mysteries that Game Freak left buried, untouched by any earthquake or script rewrite. Take Sinnoh, launched in 2006 with Diamond and Pearl, where deep in Eterna Forest stands the old chateau, a crumbling mansion whispering of tragedy no trainer dares fully unravel. You approach through the thick fog of ancient oaks, their branches clawing at the sky like forgotten hands. The iron gates creak open on rusted hinges, revealing a facade overgrown with ivy, windows shattered like broken eyes staring into the night. This isn't just any haunted house in Pokémon lore, it's the site of the 2006 Sinnoh mystery of the butler and the girl in the haunted mansion, a tale etched into the game's code but never explained. Step inside, and the air grows thick, chilled by an unnatural draft. Dust motes dance in faint moonlight, filtering through cracked panes. Upstairs, shadows flicker, but it's the dining hall that grips you first. The table is set for a feast that never ended. Silverware polished to a ghostly gleam, crystal goblets half filled with wine turned to vinegar over decades, plates laden with petrified food, roast meats congealed, vegetables wilted into black sludge. Chairs pushed back mid-meal, as if the diners rose in sudden panic. This is the visual storytelling of a dinner party that ended in a mass casualty, replayed eternally by the spirits trapped here. The ghosts manifest subtly at first. A little girl in a tattered dress glides across the room, her eyes wide with childlike desperation. She tugs at your sleeve, voice echoing like wind through hollow bones. Have you seen my father? He's tall, with a mustache. She searches endlessly, convinced he's still somewhere in these walls. Then comes the butler, spectral in his crisp uniform, bowing low before an empty chair. He serves you invisible dishes antipasto that materializes as nothing, soup that chills your hand without warming your throat. Dinner is served, master, he intones, his form flickering like a faulty lantern. Who were they? The game's files hint at a prosperous family, the chateau's owner, a man beloved by locals for his kindness to wild Pokémon, hosting grand dinners for Eterna City's elite. Servants bustled chef, maid, the devoted butler. One night in the early 1900s perhaps, they sat down to eat. Laughter filled the air, clinking glasses toasted fortunes. Then silence. Every soul at that table collapsed, faces twisted in agony, foam at their lips. Poison, swift and undetectable, claimed them all. No survivors, no culprits. The mansion sealed itself, gates locked, forest reclaiming the grounds until trainers like you stumble upon it. Locals in Eterna Forest whisper of lights flickering unnaturally after dark, appliances humming to life without power. Radios crackling with static voices, televisions glowing blue in empty rooms. And that's where Rotom enters the shadows. This mischievous electric ghost Pokémon, capable of possessing machinery, lurks in the old chateau's depths. In Platinum's 2008 update, it hides behind a specific TV upstairs, waiting to burst forth in a shower of sparks. But fans have long theorized it ties back to the original Diamond and Pearl hauntings. Linking the poisoning of the inhabitants to the presence of Rotom isn't just speculation, it's pieced from clues scattered across the games. Consider the symptoms: convulsions, foaming mouths, hearts seizing in unison. Not a typical toxin, more like a massive electrical surge, frying nerves from within. Rotom, with its plasma-like body and love for household havoc, could have infiltrated the kitchen's old fridge, the butler's buzzer, even the chandelier's wiring. Imagine it slipping into the water pipes, electrifying the soup stock, or possessing the wine decanter to dose every glass. The family drops, bodies twitching in death throes mistaken for poison. Rotom, playful yet destructive, flees into the walls, leaving ghosts to replay the horror. Why else does the TV upstairs buzz with otherworldly energy? A perfect haunt for it. The girl's father, the mustachioed master, might have antagonized it unknowingly. Legends say he welcomed Pokémon into his home, but Rotom thrives on chaos, not kindness. Perhaps a prank gone lethal, a jolt meant to startle, amplified by the mansion's antique wiring into a deadly current. The butler, loyal to the end, serves phantom meals out of eternal duty. The girl wanders, blind to her own death, forever seeking a father reduced to ectoplasm. No in-game resolution exists. Talk to NPCs in Eterna City, and they shrug. Bad food, they say, or a curse from the forest. But enter at night, catch the ghosts in their loop, the dinner party frozen in time, and doubt creeps in. Plates rattle faintly, cutlery shifts on its own. Upstairs, in the master's study, papers flutter, ledgers of Pokémon feed bought in bulk, notes on unusual sparks in the cellar. Rotom's shadow looms larger. Years pass in the Pokémon world, Chateau decaying further, yet the mystery endures. Trainers battle the ghosts, Dryfloon drifting lazily, ghastly giggling from corners, but none question the why. Is Rotom still there, possessing relics, waiting for another feast? Or did it move on, leaving Sinnoh's darkest dinner party as a warning? The forest listens, silent, as you leave the gates behind, the girl's plea echoing, "Have you seen my father?" These Sinnoh secrets pull you deeper into the region's fog-shrouded lore, much like the puzzles waiting in the ruins of Alph from Johto's shadowed past. In Chapter 22, the ruins of Alph, ancient symbols and vanishing chambers hide a truth that could rewrite time itself. What if the key to unlocking them reveals portals to worlds long erased? Stay with me as we step through those weathered stones next. From the poisoned shadows of that Sinnoh mansion, where Rotom's electric whispers twisted fate, our journey pulls us back further in time to Johto's forgotten corners, where stone chambers hum with a language older than the mountains themselves. The ruins of Alph stand silent along Route 32, half buried under Union Cave's dripping arches, their walls etched with symbols that twist like living thoughts. Enter one of the 4 puzzle rooms, slide the right boulders into place, and the floor gives way to hidden depths, releasing puffs of ancient dust that carry the faint scent of ozone and forgotten rain. These aren't just relics of some lost civilization. They're puzzles designed to summon something alive, something that watches from the cracks in reality. Deep inside, the air grows thick, charged with static that raises the hairs on your arms. Activate the sliding stones in the Kabuto chamber, and the ground rumbles, unveiling a chamber where Unown first emerge, their single eyes blinking open like stars igniting in void black bodies. These psychic enigmas, shaped like fragmented letters, float weightlessly, forming words that flicker and dissolve before your eyes. But why here, in these ruins tied to Johto's earliest myths? The archaeologists whisper of a people who revered Pokémon as gods, building these sites to commune with forces beyond human grasp. Solve the Aerodactyl puzzle, and more Unown spill out. Their cries a chorus of ethereal hums that echo through the cave systems, drawing you deeper into chambers where time feels paper thin. It was back in 1999, with the release of Gold and Silver, that players first tuned into something truly unsettling. Nestled in the ruins of Alph, a hidden radio signal crackled to life on Pokégear channel 7.5. Tune in just right, and it transmits the voice of the Unown, a looping symphony of their cries layered into Morse-like patterns, spelling out messages that shift with every listen. Some hear pleas, others warnings, broadcast from nowhere and everywhere at once. Stationary players lingered for hours, radios pressed to their ears, decoding what sounded like coordinates or fragments of a prophecy. Game Freak buried this Easter egg deep, but dedicated fans mapped it all, confirming the signal pulses strongest near the ruin's heart. What power feeds it after all these years? No batteries, no towers, just stone and will. Those voices pull you into the core riddle of the unknown themselves. Are they the literal building blocks of reality, psychic atoms weaving the fabric of the world? In the movies, swarms of them warp dimensions, birthing legendary Pokémon from pure thought, reshaping landscapes with scripted glyphs that glow like molten script. Or are they a parasitic virus latching onto minds, driving hosts mad with visions? Look at the researcher's wife in the ruins, possessed and lost to their influence, or the man in HGSS who vanishes after studying their script, his notes dissolving into gibberish. They invade dreams, rewrite memories, multiply in isolation. Players report glitches near full swarms, screens flickering with unknown script overlaying the map, as if the game itself bows to their code. Benevolent creators or insidious invaders, thriving on human curiosity until it consumes them. This ambiguity ties straight to Johto's shadowed underbelly, where the ruins of Alph connect to the creation myth etched in the Sinjo ruins, far atop Route 47. There, in heart gold and soul silver, you stand before a massive unknown altar, channeling their power with the red Gyarados' scale to birth Dialga, Palkia, or Giratina from arcs of raw energy. The murals depict it plain, unknown as the primordial scribes, birthing time, space, and antimatter from their floating forms, echoing Arceus' dawn but twisted through human hands. The professor marvels at how these ruins mirror Alph's puzzles, suggesting a single cataclysm scattered their knowledge across Johto. Ancient Johtoians didn't just find unknown. They harnessed them, risking reality seems to play God, and the radio voices might be their warning, still broadcasting across decades. Venturing deeper into theory, consider the unknown Dex entries. They dwell in a parallel dimension, slipping through to our world like thoughts made manifest. In Crystal, over 200 emerge if you collect them all, forming a massive that pulses with otherworldly light. But catch them carelessly, and your Pokémon twist, levels spiking unnaturally, as if infected. Fans pore over data-mined files, uncovering unused unknown forms, hinting at a full alphabet of doom. The ruins chambers, with their extinct Pokémon motifs, imply unknown predated even fossils, perhaps animating stone into life before retreating, or devouring it. Either way, the signal persists, a digital ghost in every remake, whispering to anyone who listens long enough. Picture the chill of nightfall at the ruins, Pokegear static cutting through crickets, unknown eyes glowing faintly behind chamber walls. Researchers vanish yearly, journals filled with half-formed words. Is this Johto's original sin, awakening forces that now hunger for more? The Sinjo link seals it. Those creation rites demand unknown obedience, fusing legendaries from myth into flesh, but at what cost? Glitches in Sinjo show phantom unknown swarms overwhelming the chamber, screens blacking out mid-summon. Alph's puzzles were the key, Sinjo the lock, and we're all still turning it. As these ancient voices fade into the static, another Johto enigma surfaces, one that travelers pocket without a second thought. The strange souvenir, innocuous at first glance, hides a pull toward revelations that make the unknown's whispers seem tame. What secrets does it guard, and why does it draw you back to the ruins every time? Those unknown voices from the ruins of Alph fade into static, but echoes of prophecy linger across the Pokémon world, pulling threads from one generation to the next. In the sandy shores of Kalos, back in 2013, players stumbled upon something that shouldn't have been there. A humble shell washed up from distant waves, handed over by a wandering backpacker on Route 13. This strange souvenir, pink and branching like forgotten coral, sat quietly in inventories, unremarkable at first glance. Trade it, toss it, or hold on to it. Few realized it was staring straight into the future. 3 years before Alola ever graced the screens in Sun and Moon, that very item appeared in Pokémon X and Y, its shape mirroring the exotic branches of Corsola colonies from those tropical isles yet to be mapped. Backpacker Sheldon pressed it into your hands, murmuring how he found it bobbing on the beach, carried from some far southern land where the sea meets endless horizons. Kalos beaches don't yield such treasures naturally. Their shores are rugged cliffs and misty coves, not sun-drenched atolls. Players traded theories in forums that night, dissecting its model, its texture, wondering if Game Freak had slipped a prototype from the next region into the code. Why embed it then, unnamed and purposeless, save for resale at a Pokémon Center for a handful of Poké dollars? It whispered of islands unknown, palm-fringed volcanoes, and Pokémon that danced under perpetual summer skies, all while Kalos still reeled from its ancient war scars. But Sheldon wasn't alone in his ramblings. Scattered across the overworld, these backpacker NPCs drift like ghosts between regions, their packs heavy with omens no one heeds. In Unova's dusty trails, one warns of shadows creeping from the earth, hinting at Curem's fractured rage long before the ice dragon fully awakens. Cross into Hoenn, and another mutters about tides that swallow mountains, their eyes distant as if they've seen primal reversion's chaos firsthand. They appear in Sinnoh's snowy passes, speaking of time unraveling at the Spear Pillar, or in Kalos itself, where they speak of weapons that drain the life from armies. These aren't random travelers, they wander the map with scripted dialogue laced with doom, crossing generational borders as if unbound by game cartridges. Players encounter them post-game, after legends are sealed, yet their warnings persist, cataclysms averted but never forgotten. What drives them? Are they survivors of those hinted wars, looping eternally through the code, or harbingers coded to tease lore yet unborn? Peel back the layers, and you see how Pokémon weaves these vessel characters to stitch generations together, fragile bridges over the void between releases. Looker strides from Sinnoh's catalogues into Unova's shadows, his Interpol badge a constant amid shifting skies. Annabelle, hollow-eyed from Hoenn's battle frontier, materializes in Alola's empty thrones, her team warped by ultra beasts. Even the backpackers serve this purpose, nomads without allegiance, slipping prophecies from one region's code into another's, ensuring the dark secrets endure. They're not heroes or villains, they're conduits, carrying fragments of catastrophe that span decades of development cycles. Imagine the developers in 2013, plotting Alola's reveal, planting that souvenir as a breadcrumb for eagle-eyed fans, while backpackers echo warnings from Kanto's buried conflicts to Paldea's cratered unknowns. No fanfare, no quest line, just quiet persistence, binding the timeline like unowned script on ancient walls. These vessels hint at a larger tapestry, where regions aren't isolated but entangled in cycles of ruin and rebirth. The strange souvenir's prediction feels too precise for coincidence. Its Corsola-like form prefigures not just Alola's beaches, but the exotic imports flooding Lumio's boutiques, foreign fruits, vivid Tapu guardians watching from cliffs. Backpackers amplify the dread, their doom-laden chatter a low hum beneath the adventure. In Galar's foggy wilds, one speaks of a darkest day that petrified the land, tying back to Kalos's weapon. In Hisui's ancient wilds, their kin might warn of space-time rifts swallowing tribes whole. They bridge not just games but eras, ensuring that as you sail from one title to the next, the weight of unsolved wars trails behind. Yet these threads lead to deeper glitches in the world's fabric, anomalies buried in the earliest code that warp reality itself. Coming up in Chapter 24, The MissingNo. Glitch as lore unravels that bird-skulled horror from the original games. What if it's not just a programming error, but a deliberate tear revealing the void beneath Pokémon's shiny surface? Stay with me as we descend into that abyss. Those backpackers drifting between regions with their cryptic warnings of impending doom might have been trying to steer you away from Kanto's true abyss, because nothing in their prophecies matches the digital phantom that still haunts the coastline of Cinnabar Island, a place where the game's very code unravels like a frayed thread in reality's fabric. It started back in 1996 with the Japanese launch of Pokémon Red and Green. Programmers at Game Freak, racing against deadlines, left a tiny oversight in the encounter tables, a blank space where data should have been, overlooked amid the rush to ship cartridges worldwide. Players discovered it almost immediately, but what they found wasn't a mere bug. It was MissingNo, a grotesque mosaic of pixels that materialized when you pushed the game to its breaking point. You'd start on Route 8, chatting with that rambling old man who boasts about his Pokémon catching prowess. He'd freeze your lead Pokémon in his identification routine, marking it as his for a split second. Then you'd withdraw the very last item from your PC box, say, a Master Ball or an unused slot, and fly straight to Cinnabar Island. Surf westward along the coast, into the sea where no wild Pokémon should spawn, and there it waits, flickering into view like a corrupted signal from another dimension. Encounter it, and the world warps. Your sixth item duplicates endlessly, stacking up to 99 copies, letting you amass infinite rare candies or TMS before the game buckles under the strain. Catch MissingNo, and your Hall of Fame corrupts into a gallery of abominations, sprites twisting into nightmarish forms. Save your game right after, and the graphical glitches spread like a virus, mangling beaches and buildings into abstract horrors. Reload, and Cinnabar's coastline, the very spot of the summoning, becomes a scarred wasteland of scrambled tiles, waves frozen in impossible patterns, a digital graveyard that no reset can fully cleanse. Players whispered about it on early forums, trading save files tainted by the encounter, convinced they'd awakened something forbidden. But here's where the glitch transcends code and bleeds into lore, treating that 1996 programming error as a canonical glitch in the universe itself. What if MissingNo isn't random noise, but a deliberate tear in the Pokémon world's fabric? Kanto's veterans like Lieutenant Surge hint at ancient wars where Pokémon clashed with humans on a cataclysmic scale, mass graves buried under the region. Theories emerged that Game Freak encoded remnants of that conflict into the games, erased data from beta versions, Pokémon species scrapped during development to streamline the roster. MissingNo accesses those ghosts. Its Pokédex entry lists it as bird type with 0 base stats, but deeper hacks reveal fragments of unused cries, sprites from cup monsters like the original Theo or Idol, beings deemed too unstable for the final cartridge. Catch it, and you're pulling back the curtain on deleted life forms, echoes of Pokémon that once roamed Kanto before the war, or the programmers wiped them clean. Fans latched onto this, weaving MissingNo into the canon as the remains of deleted Pokémon species, spectral holdouts refusing to vanish. Its name? Missing number, a void where something vital should be. In the game's lore, Mew underpins all life, but what if Mewtwo's creation experiments, or the fossil revivals in Cinnabar's lab, disturb these buried entities? The anime's ghostly threads, like the spectral figures in Pokémon Tower, feel like precursors. Even the Cinnabar mansion, burned in a suspicious fire and hiding the secret key, pulses with unease, its basement labs birthing experiments that mirror the glitch's instability. Players who exploited MissingNo reported eerie save corruption persisting across devices, as if the entity followed them, a curse encoded in magnetic tape. And so the Cinnabar coast became the most haunted location in gaming history, not through ghosts or jump scares, but through this tangible rupture. Surf out there at night, even today, in emulators faithful to the original ROMs, and the air thickens with anticipation. The water churns unnaturally, empty slots in the encounter data pulling in MissingNo. Variants. Mem with its blocky face or the skeletal M that crashes systems outright. Conventions buzz with tales of haunted Game Boys, cartridges refusing to boot after a botched encounter, batteries draining in sealed cases. It's drawn ghost hunters to replicate it live, cameras capturing the sprite's emergence as proof of digital hauntings. In fan art and creepypastas, MissingNo evolves into a harbinger, devouring save data like a black hole, tying into Kanto's war scars, the mass graves, Cubone's endless skull cycle, Mew's jungle origins, all pointing to a world where deletion isn't final. Communities like Glitch City still archive thousands of reports dissecting hex values that align freakishly with in-game lore. One theory posits the coast as a rift to the distortion world, predating Giratina by over a decade. Another links it to the GS Ball's void, that scrapped Celebi vessel from Johto's anime. Even modern remakes in Fire Red and Leaf Green nod subtly, with Cinnabar's waves hiding Easter eggs that crash if tampered with just right. It's no accident this glitch endures. Nintendo never patched it fully, letting it fester as urban legend fuel. In a franchise built on collection and completion, MissingNo mocks the obsession, offering a Pokémon you can't truly own without consequence. Yet, for all its terror, this glitch hints at deeper absences woven into Pokémon's heart, voids where figures should stand but never do. What happens when the ultimate patriarchs, fathers who shape champions, fade into nothingness, leaving only questions? That's the enigma we'll unravel in Chapter 25, the father figure void, a silence louder than any corrupted sprite. Just as MissingNo haunts the code like a ghost of forgotten Pokémon, the Pokémon anime hides its own spectral voids, figures who vanish without trace, leaving echoes that ripple through decades of episodes. None more glaring than the man who should anchor the entire saga, Ash Ketchum's father. Back in the pilot episode, aired in 1997, we catch the first and last glimpse of him through Delia's words. She tells a young Ash on the cusp of his 10th birthday that his father left years ago on an endless Pokémon journey. No face, no name, no return date, just a promise he'll come back someday. Fast forward 27 years, through over 1,200 episodes, 25 seasons, movies, specials, and that someday never arrives. Ash evolves from wide-eyed kid to world champion in 2023's finale, yet his dad remains a blank space, a narrative black hole sucking in fan questions for nearly 3 decades. Why this deliberate erasure? Creators like Satoshi Tajiri envisioned Pokémon as a rite of passage, where kids ditch home for the open road, but Ash's case twists it darker. In early interviews, staff hinted the father was always traveling, a wandering trainer too consumed by badges and battles to look back. Episode 64 of the original series doubles down. Ash dreams of a silhouetted figure with a cap, battling fiercely, his subconscious filling the void. But even that teases nothing concrete. By the Orange Islands arc, Delia shrugs it off casually, as if single parenthood in Pallet Town is the norm. No letters, no postcards, no Pikachu-sized hole in the family photo. The anime's timeline stretches Ash's childhood into a perpetual now, but 27 years of real-world airtime amplify the cruelty viewers age, Ash doesn't, and the father figure fades further. Dig deeper into production notes, and cracks emerge. The English dub softened some Japanese lines for cultural fit, but the original script leaves his absence raw. Kunihiko Yuyama, the anime's director, confirmed in a 2008 panel that the father exists somewhere out there, chasing his own dreams. Yet no cameo, not even in Ash's farewell episode. Fans pored over cameos, like the nameless trainer in a 1999 episode who resembles a grown Ash, but they're red herrings. This isn't oversight, it's intentional design. The void shapes Ash, forging his unbreakable bond with Pikachu and Professor Oak as surrogate pillars. Without a dad, Ash's quest becomes mythic, unburdened by domestic ties. Enter the Silver Theory, one of the most chilling fan reconstructions to fill that abyss. Named after the Gold and Silver Games release in 1999, it posits Ash's father as a high-level trainer who competed in the Silver Conference, the Johto League climax Ash himself reaches in 2001. Picture him, a cap-wearing veteran, Pikachu at his side, dominating battles until a shadow pulls him under. The theory escalates darkly. He's not just absent, he's on the run. tied to Kanto's whispered Pokémon war, the one lieutenant. Surge survived, or worse, entangled with Team Rocket's underbelly. Why? Genetic experiments like Mewtwo echo in his past. Maybe he crossed paths with Giovanni during Project Mew, fleeing consequences that could endanger Pallet Town. Dark implications unfurl like a badnik evolution. If he's fleeing rocket remnants or war crimes, those mass graves hinted in Saffron City's dojo. He's a fugitive in a world where Pokémon centers heal wounds but not consciences. Silver conference footage, archived in fan wikis, shows elite trainers with haunted eyes. One anonymous champion vanishes post-victory, mirroring the timeline. Ash inherits that fire, but also the curse, his eternal youth a Pokémon anomaly, perhaps shielding him from a tainted lineage. Forums buzz with manga crossovers. In Pokémon Adventures, Silver the rival bears a grudge against Giovanni, his father. What if Ash's dad mentored him, then bolted when secrets spilled? It's a web of speculation, but the anime's silence screams guilt. A man on the run wouldn't risk exposure, not with a son destined for fame. This void isn't isolated. It reveals why the Pokémon world prioritizes the journey over the nuclear family. Pallet Town thrives on departures. Gary Oak jets off without a backward glance. Misty's sisters dump gym duties. Even Professor Oak raised his grandson amid lab chaos. Journeys aren't vacations, they're societal mandates, baked into league laws from Kanto to Paldea. 10-year-olds board buses alone, stock Poké Balls from a professor they've barely met, and vanish for years. Families adapt. Delia's restaurant hums Mimey the Mister. Mime plays dad. Support networks via Pokegear knit the gaps. It's a nomadic utopia where bonds form in tall grass, not living rooms. Reproduction sidesteps norms too. No on-screen parents for most rivals. Eggs materialize via daycares. Evolutions mimic rebirth. Yet shadows lurk in this freedom. Abandoned Primeape from episode 52, trained then forgotten. The GS Ball, handed off in 1998 and orphaned by scrapped Celebi plots. The world rewards wanderers, but at what cost? Ash's mom embodies resilience, waving goodbye yearly, but her loneliness seeps through subtle frames, empty dinner tables, wistful stares at the horizon. In Sinnoh, Dawn's coordinator mom cheers from afar. Unova's Iris climbs Dragon Spiral Tower parentless. The nuclear family dissolves into a web of mentorships. Brock cooks for strays. Tracy sketches ghosts of the past. It's evolution in action. Survive by scattering, thrive by reconnecting mid-battle. Ponder the philosophy. Tajiri drew from his bug-collecting youth, where nature's cycles trump human nests. Pokémon don't cling to broods. Pidgey fledge fast. Beedrill swarm solo. Humans mirror them. Journeys purging weakness, forging champions. But Ash's dad subverts it. He journeyed too far into irrelevance. 27 years on, as Ash retires, the question lingers. Did the road claim him, or did he choose the void? These family fractures hint at deeper infections, like the fungal plagues overtaking wild hosts in humid groves. Tune in next for Chapter 26, the Parasect Horror, where a single spore unravels minds and legacies in ways that make a missing father seem merciful. While some trainers chase ghosts of absent fathers across endless anime episodes, Kanto's damp undergrowth hides a far more immediate parental tyranny, one etched into the very biology of Paras and its horrifying evolution. Picture the Viridian Forest, where sunlight barely pierces the canopy, and the air hangs thick with the scent of moss and decay. There, scuttling among the roots, you find Paras, the unassuming crab-like insect with a vibrant mushroom sprouting from its back. At first glance, it seems like symbiosis, a partnership forged in nature's quiet genius. But look closer, and the truth unravels into something straight out of a nightmare. Paras moves with purpose, its four-clawed legs clicking softly over fallen leaves, eyes alert and gleaming with a spark of insect cunning. Those eyes, small, beady, yet alive, dart toward threats, scanning for berries or foes. It's a survivor, this little creature, using the mushroom's spores to defend itself, releasing clouds of golden powder that stun predators in mid-leap. Trainers catch them young, evolve them in battles that shake the forest floor, but what happens next reveals the deception. When Paras reaches its final form, Parasect, the change isn't growth, it's conquest. The mushroom, that once modest cap on the Paras's back, balloons into a massive pulsating orb, veins throbbing like arteries under its leathery skin. It dominates the body entirely, roots burrowing deep into the insect's nervous system, hijacking every nerve, every muscle twitch. Official Pokédex entries whisper the horror outright. The larger the mushroom grows, the more it controls its host. By the time Parasect emerges, the insect beneath is little more than a husk, a puppet jerked by fungal strings. Scientists in Celadon City labs have dissected specimens, finding neural pathways rerouted, the mushroom's mycelium weaving through the brain like invasive kudzu, suppressing the host's will until it fades to nothing. Stare into a Parasect's face, and the evidence glares back, those dead eyes. Empty, vacant pools of black, devoid of the lively glint you see in Paras. No curiosity flickers there, no fear or hunger. Just a hollow stare, as if the soul has been vacuumed out, leaving a shell that obeys only the cap's silent commands. Compare them side by side in the Pokédex sprites from the original Red and Blue games, released back in 1996. Paras peers out with sentience, a creature aware of its world. Parasect. It gazes through you, unresponsive, a zombie marching on spore-fueled instinct. Fans on old forums dissected this for years, zooming in on pixel art, debating if those blank orbs hint at eternal torment or blissful oblivion. But here's where the unsolved mystery deepens into dread. What if the mushroom isn't just a parasite, it's the true Pokémon? The insect carcass, a disposable vessel, animated long after the original host perished. In the anime's early episodes, Parasect shambles through Johto caves, its movements jerky, unnatural, like a marionette with frayed wires. No cries of pain or resistance, just mechanical efficiency, harvesting more mushrooms to spread the cycle. Imagine the forest floor littered with Paras shells, discarded once overgrown, new hosts claimed nightly under moonless skies. Pokédex lore from Gold and Silver in 1999 confirms it. Parasect grows by sucking nutrients from the bug, but reversed, the bug exists to feed and carry the fungus. This takeover mirrors real-world horrors, cordyceps fungi that turn ants into zombies, compelling them to climb high before bursting from their skulls in spore clouds. Pokémon designers drew straight from that, but amplified it into something sentient, strategic. Why evolve at all if the insect dies? Is the mushroom plotting expansion, one forest at a time? In Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes from 2004, trainers report Parasect hordes overwhelming roots at night, eyes glowing faintly from bioluminescent caps, infecting wild bug types en masse. No trainer interventions stop it fully, they just delay the inevitable. Delve into the game's code, and glitches echo this. Old save files from the Game Boy era show Parasect's stats skewed toward grass over bug, as if the system knows the insect's role is secondary. Anime tie-ins in the Orange Islands arc feature a Parasect rampage, spores blanketing an island until the host mushroom withers from overgrowth, revealing the cap as the fragile core, the zombie body mere armor. Yet no explanation for how the mushroom initiates the bond. Does it latch onto Paras' eggs? Spores inhaled at birth. Unresolved, it lingers like a viral code in the Pokédex database. Communities since the 1990s have theorized broader implications. Could this explain Kanto's war veterans' tales of fungal plagues in the trenches? LT. Surge mentions Pokémon battles, but what if Parasect swarms turn the tide, zombifying armies? In Modern Scarlet and Violet from 2022, Terra types let Parasect shift pure grass, shedding the bug pretense entirely. The insect gone, The mushroom reigns supreme. Horror fans draw parallels to body snatchers, questioning every Evo line. Does Pinsir hide a parasite? Scyther's metal claws a fungal forge. Encounters in the wild grow rarer post-evolution. Parasect retreating to damp caves, breeding in darkness. Trainers who raise them swear the eyes follow you, even in Poké Balls, a subtle watchfulness. Release one at midnight in Petalburg Woods. Watch it ignore commands, drawn to mushroom clusters, body convulsing as new roots take hold. The biological takeover isn't evolution, it's extinction of self, a slow erasure hidden in plain sight. And as we peel back these layers of fungal dominion, prepare yourself for Chapter 27, the multiverse theory, where shattered realities and infinite Ash Ketchums collide in ways that make Parasect's empty gaze seem almost merciful. Just as the mushroom claims Parasect's mind, leaving those vacant eyes staring into nothing. What if entire worlds stare back at us from the void? Their gaze is empty because something cataclysmic went wrong. In the Delta episode of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, released in 2014, we get the Pokémon world's first undeniable proof of parallel timelines, branching out like fractured roots beneath the Hoenn soil. You chase a mysterious signal across meteorites crashing into the sea, pulling you into a confrontation with Deoxys, the DNA-altering alien Pokémon warping reality itself. Rayquaza descends from the ozone layer, mega-evolving not through a stone, but through pure primal rage to seal the rift. Yet, as the dust settles, Lissandra's voice echoes from the past, his obsession with the ultimate weapon colliding with Aziz's ancient grief. This isn't just a post-game epilogue, it's a crack in the universe revealing that timelines diverge based on pivotal choices. Picture the moment Zinnia, the blindfolded dragon-type master from the Draconid's tribe, hands you the infinite energy scroll. She speaks of another Hoenn, one where the meteor struck without Rayquaza's intervention, dooming the region to extinction. The Delta episode confirms it outright. Parallel timelines exist in the Pokémon world, splintering from near misses and what-ifs. Every region you've explored, every legendary you've witnessed, has a shadow version lurking just beyond the veil. But lean in closer, because this confirmation drags us straight into the abyss of the ultimate weapon from Kalos. 3,000 years ago, King Azid unleashed that life-draining beam from Lumio's city, petrifying endless armies in a war whose scars still whisper through the Prism Tower's ghosts. In our timeline, Az stopped it midway, his floet sacrificing itself to reverse the petrification, leaving him immortal and broken. The Delta episode ties this horror directly to Hoenn's skies, suggesting the weapon's energy ripples across dimensions. Now, hold that thought, the terrifying thought of a world where the ultimate weapon was never stopped. Imagine Kalos, not as the elegant region of eternal beauty, but a vast graveyard of stone statues, every human and Pokémon frozen mid-scream, their life force fueling an endless red glow from the city's core. Lissandra's dream realized, a beautiful world stripped clean, no trainers left to challenge gyms, no evolutions blooming under the sun. Az wanders those petrified streets forever, his floet's flower wilted to dust, while Zygarde slumbers unaware in the ecosystem's ruins. That timeline didn't branch away, it waits, hungry. Ultra wormholes become the gateway to these bad-ending versions of every region. In Sun and Moon, those swirling portals rip open across Alola's skies, spewing ultra beasts from dimensions where disasters triumph. But what if they're peeking into Hoenn's where Deoxys obliterated Rayquaza, Kanto littered with mass graves from the unseen war? Lieutenant. Surge survived or Sinnoh swallowed by Dialga and Palkia's clashing realms? The ghost girl in Lumiosa and Pyre, gliding with her hollow plea of "you're not the one," might be slipping through these wormholes, forever searching across bad timelines for the soul who could have ended it all. These wormholes don't just summon beasts, they tease the multiverse's underbelly. In Ultraspace's colorless voids, you glimpse fractured skies mirroring regions gone wrong, Paldea's crater as ground zero for the ultimate weapon, Galar's darkest day unchecked with Eternatus rampaging eternally, Hisui trapped in Legends Arceus's time loop without escape. The Draconids guarded Hoenn's lore for this exact reason, etching warnings into Devoncorp's infinite energy tech, knowing one unchecked meteor or unfired weapon could summon the Horde. Fan theories since 2014 have mapped it meticulously. The GS Ball from Johto as a wormhole stabilizer meant for Celebi's time meddling. Tobias's hidden legendaries pulled from Sinnoh's shattered timelines. Even MissingNo. As a glitch bleeding through from deleted realities. The backpacker NPCs wandering with cryptic doom prophecies. Travelers unstuck between branches, their souvenirs like the strange souvenir predicting Alola's shadows. Parasect's dead eyes reflect this too, a host overtaken not just by fungus, but by the multiverse's inexorable pull toward entropy. Every ultra wormhole sighting pulses with that dread. What if you step through and emerge in a Kanto where the war never ended? Cubone skulls piling into mountains because mothers never return. Or a Johto frozen in the bell tower's collapse without Ho-Oh's revival. The Delta episode doesn't just confirm parallel timelines, it weaponizes them, turning Pokemon's hopeful journeys into a fragile thread against infinite failures. As these rifts widen in your mind, probing deeper into the fabric, you're left wondering what single secret binds every region's darkness together. Chapter 28, the final secret, unveils it all next. Don't drift off yet, because it redefines everything you've heard tonight. In a world where the ultimate weapon's glow never faded, entire regions might have crumbled into petrified silence, their legends silenced forever. But even in our timeline, those echoes linger, threading through every corner of the Pokémon world like roots buried deep underground. You've felt them, the whispers in Kanto's graveyards, the glitches flickering at the edge of Gen 1's code, the Ghost Girl's endless search in Kalos Towers. They pull you back, night after night, because they were never meant to be solved. Trace it back to 1996, when the first games dropped you into Kanto's shadowed paths. LT. Surge talks of a war, his voice crackling over the radio like static from a battlefield long buried. Pokémon and trainers clashing on scales we can't grasp, mass graves hinted at in the Earth's quiet scars. Cubone shuffles by, wearing its mother's skull, but how does the line endure? Marowak evolves, still helmeted, yet the skulls don't multiply, they dwindle, a population on the brink of extinction unless something darker replenishes them. And Mew, that fossil from Guyana's jungles, birthing Project Mew and Mewtwo's Rage. 30 years on, no one's explained the war's victors, the skull cycle's grim logic, or Mew's true cradle. These aren't loose ends, they're the first hooks in your mind. Johto layered on the anomalies in 1999, time bending around forgotten balls and beasts. The GS Ball, passed hand to hand in the anime's early haze, promised Celebi's secrets but vanished after the movies scrapped it, confirmed years later by its own director, yet forever empty. Ash's Primeape, trained up in episode 52 and sworn to return, just doesn't. Gone into the wilds or worse. These threads tangle with Kanto's war echoes, pulling tighter as regions unfold. Hoenn's shores in 2002 brought the spectres closer. Mount Pyre's winds carry the Ghost Girl's refrain in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. You're not the one, her form gliding through the cemetery's mist, eyes fixed on some lost trainer from Death's rituals. She's no random haunt, she crossed from Kalos first, her plea unfinished. Team Rocket's shadows tease rivalries, the earthquakes and scripts buried, leaving voids where plots should bloom. MissingNo deepened the enigma with trainers like Tobias, storming the league in the anime's Diamond and Pearl arc. Darkrai flashes, Latios follows, and he claims the crown with 4 unseen Pokémon. Legendaries, whispers say, caught in methods we'll never know. His team, his past, dissolved into victory screens, a champion's roster etched in question marks. Then Kalos in 2013 unveiled the heart of it all. 3,000 years back, King AZ's weapon drained life from clashing armies, petrifying his own Floette in the fallout. Lumios's ghost girl haunts the Prism Tower elevator, her glide cutting the dark. That same line, "You're not the one," tied to Zygarde's watchful core or the war's unfinished grudge. Sealed power plant rooms loom behind locks, their secrets humming with untapped energy. Was the target Galar's darkest day, fossil graves spilling Dynamax horrors? Or Paldea's crater, anomalies frozen in time? No games confirmed it, no anime circled back. Galar's stadiums in 2019 unearthed the bones Eternatus crashing amid war relics, the darkest day a ripple from Kalos blast. Paldea's open scars in 2022 question it further. Legends Arceus, stranding souls in Hisui's past with no way home. Cross all this with the universal riddles, Poké Ball's inner voids, Diglett's hidden feet defying sprites and soil, eggs hatching without mothers' wombs, Malamar's domination plot fizzling into the anime's XY nights, that original dragon fragmenting Zygarde's form. For 30 years, from Red and Green's 1996 launch to Scarlet and Violet's fractured paths, these unresolved narrative threads have woven the fabric wars unspoken, ghosts unclaimed, glitches birthed as lore, fathers vanished, mushrooms devouring hosts, multiverses splintering what-ifs. No patch, no Legends prequel, no director's note has tied them off. They've grown wilder, feeding fan scrolls and midnight theories, because that's their power. This darkness, the war's petrified armies, the skull-clad orphans, the glitched voids, the weapons that rewrite reality, isn't a flaw in the telling. It's the lifeblood keeping the franchise alive across decades. It's mystery, the tall grass where legends hide and evolve. Without it, Pokémon would be a closed Pokédex, victories tallied, no shadows to chase into sleep. The enigmas endure because they mirror our world, histories half-buried, questions that pull you deeper instead of letting go. They promise more, a Legends war game, a Ghost Girl's resolution, while holding back just enough to last another generation. And in the end, as you drift through Paldea's craters or Kanto's graves, remember this: some secrets are better left buried in the tall grass. Let them rustle there, undisturbed, fueling dreams you return to tomorrow. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.